discreet about it. Extra, extra, read about it. Say you wanna beef about it. We gon' come and see about it. Flexing ain't discreet about it. Extra, extra, read about it. Say you wanna beef about it. Find out nothing sweet about it. Flexing ain't discreet about it. Extra, extra, read about it.
It's going down. B.Woods on the mic podcast, and we throw around that word legend a lot, and we're not doing it today. We got one of the biggest names in West Coast hip hop history. West Side Radio, Ruthless Radio, The Beat, K-Day broke damn near every artist out here in LA and the West Coast, even Beyonce and them. You know what I mean? Like, we not playing around with this thing today. You know what I'm saying? We're going to take credit. We'll get this history right. We got the one, the only, my OG, Mr. Julio G.
I made it finally. Sorry, B.Woods. It took me some time, but I'm here, man. I made it finally, bro.
Man, it's already. First of all, I want to thank you for just making the time to really, to come on the podcast, man. I've been a fan of you since I was like damn near like 15, 16. I would take that 105 bus on La Cienega 3rd by the Beverly Center, throw on my headphones, and I would just be over there just grooving the Julio G, and I'd just be like, damn, like I didn't even know if I wanted to get into radio. And like, I would listen to you, and you sounded so normal, you know what I mean? Usually when you get into the radio game, you hear people 102.3, and it was just like, there was something, you were the first person I heard that sounded like somebody I knew, somebody real, knew the music. And I always, before I was even in radio, I was just like, damn, you know what I mean? Just to be around this dude would be like the shit, you know what I mean? And then I got an opportunity to work with you, at the radio station. And one of my most surreal moments was like when I was at K-Day, the new K-Day 93.5, and you were before me, and you were like, coming up next, B.Woods. I was like, wow. I remember I was at the bus stop listening to this guy, and
wow.
And somebody I've looked up to and patterned my whole style around, and I was just like, here he is, Mr.
I appreciate it. Thank you, man. Thank you so much.
Man. Yeah, man. Yeah.
You never know, you never know who you touch, you know what I mean? Because I went through the same experience, you know what I mean? When I was young, it was people that inspired me on the radio, and I was a kid too, and I was like, man, I really want to be next to that person. That person was Tony G at that time. Mm-hmm. And when I got around him and got to DJ, you know what I mean? It was just, wow, I can't believe I'm doing it. So I totally understand. I can relate totally because I've been there before, you know what I mean? So the radio's powerful, when you're hearing a voice, you don't see the face. It makes you like have to kind of get into that person. But you're right. I didn't have that radio thing because I didn't come from going to school. A lot of people thought I went to some kind of college or something for that, but I never took school for radio broadcasting. I'm just a mixed DJ. I just got pushed into the radio broadcasting thing. And then so I kind of, I think that helped me out in a way because I didn't have that, hey, it's Julio G. You know what I mean? I didn't, that was radio, that approach that you got to have for it. I had more of a natural, like you said, it was more like a lot of rappers would tell me, like Mac 10 used to tell me, man, I love doing interviews with you, man. I feel like I'm just sitting at the house talking to my neighbor. And that's why I was trying to make it seem like that. I try to make it seem like it was just me and you having a conversation instead of such an interview about it, you know what I mean?
It was, and that's the thing that I remember, because like a lot of stuff I remember you just like, even if you were late for a shift, you were like, I had to drop off Dominique real quick, but we're about to get into the music. You know, we got 9 o'clock Bob happening, Mellow, and I would just be like, okay, and it was just a vibe, so you didn't feel, you felt like I was talking to the homie, you know what I mean?
Well, you got to remember, like on the radio back then, and even now, I was the only one that told you where I lived at.
Right.
I made it very clear I'm from Long Beach and Imperial and Lynwood. So anytime Long Beach and Imperial is a major cross in my neighborhood, right? So I'm on the corner of that, you know what I mean? So I made it very clear to people where I was from. They knew my daughter's name.
Right.
But she was, but that was part of like what I was doing was I was kind of bringing them into who I was and what I'm about. And then once you, kind of like KRS-One when he said like in the first album, they had the guns and the whole thing for Criminal Minded, but it was kind of just to get him to the second album.
Right.
To get him into By All Means Necessary. And that was kind of my approach, was to like get the family part involved because I wanted people to understand about having a kid. And I wasn't with my kid's mom, so I know a lot of people could relate to that. And so I was still doing it. And so I was hoping that was inspiring some people to not. That's why I would say things on the air about it. I never talked about my daughter's mother or whatever our situation was. I never ever spoke on her publicly. This is probably the most I'm talking about her publicly right now. You know what I mean? But that was a choice that I made. I didn't want to bring my issues into the radio. I didn't want to bring my stuff that was happening to me outside. But I was going through a lot of child support problems and lawyers, and it was pretty hectic. But I didn't bring it on the air. I didn't, I kept it like that because I wanted to hope that people could relate to that and say, damn, man, because I used to have people call me on the radio, on the phone, be off the air and be like, damn, that was so deep what you just said, man. It made me really think about me and my kid and da-da-da. And you know what I mean? So I kind of brought people into who I was so people knew a lot about me. A lot of people know my daughter right to this day. They'll be like, oh, Julio G, you Dominique?
Right.
She's grown now. So like, you're the little girl you was talking about? And then be like, yeah, just the other day that happened to her at the store. Somebody told her, you're Julio G's daughter. Oh, I remember this. You're Dominique. And so they remember that little kid's voice. You know what I mean?
It's just it's such a it's literally a part of LA history. Really is. It's a part.
And nobody was putting their kid on the air. Like my daughter didn't know I was recording her until like in junior high, somebody in school told her, hey, I heard you on the radio last night with your dad.
Right.
Like, what? And then she asked me, hey, Dad, do you play me on the radio? I'm like, oh yeah, I do. But she didn't know. It took her years to figure that out. She didn't know I was recording those calls. So, but I did that for people that, for the female, the women to find a way. I mean, they to relate to me in that way too. So, because they respect that, damn, he calls his kid, and it was just a lot to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it really does. It humanizes you too, because a lot of times when you in these corporate spaces, they want you to be corporate. They want you to hit these liners and do this, that, and the other. And then when you have able to connect, especially out here in LA, people at a hip hop station, people know like, okay, is this person really who they say they are? And that was the one thing about, my interaction, which I always thought was dope, was the fact that when you cracked the mic, you were the same person when the mic came off. Also,
yeah, for sure.
Which is like I said, that shit don't happen. You know what I mean? Like it's very rare where that energy translates. And so I thought that was just super dope. And I think that's why that's part of your legendary status. And just to go back, I'm like, even before 1580 was like music and DJ, was that something that you've always wanted to do? How did you even get into the game?
Well, I'm going to tell you that, but I want to just go back a little bit just to give my mom some props, rest in peace. When I first got on 92.3 The Beat, I didn't know I was going to do the 5 days. I didn't know I was going to do it by myself. The original thing was supposed to be Sway and me co-hosting with him and DJing. I was supposed to play like more of the DJ melody role and come in and host with him, but he was supposed to lead. So it was kind of, that's what we agreed on. I wasn't ready. I didn't say, hey, I want to be on the radio. This is after Eazy-E passed away. So I didn't really say that. They kind of pushed me to do that. You know what I mean? So this is what's going to happen. So about 2 weeks before we're about to go on, me and Sway have been already talking for about a month, like getting together and figuring out how we're going to do the show. We're going to surprise everybody. Boom! Julio G, Sway and Julio G, you know what I mean? Whatever. And so 2 weeks before we go on, Sway calls me and he says, man, he goes, I'm in a situation, Julio G. What's up, Sway? He goes, they just offered me the morning show at KMEL. And I'm like, take that. I didn't even hesitate. I was like, hey, man, don't even trip, man. Take that shit. Like, get your money, dog. So for me, in my head, I was like, that's over, right?
Right.
That's just like, okay, well, this ain't gonna happen, right?
Yeah.
It's over. You know what I mean? So, but I told him, I called him, Sway, I love you, brother. Get your money, dog. Didn't even hesitate. Get your money, because that's the right thing to do.
Absolutely.
They were paying him a lot of money too. You know what I mean? Paying good money. So, and that's the morning. Do your thing. That's your hometown, of course. So then the radio station tells me, oh, well, it's on you now. Wow. And I'm like, what? Oh, I would say that's what I mean. I wasn't ready for all that.
Right.
I was thrown into that. So that whole beginning year was me trying to figure myself out and the situation. But before I started that show, my mom's the one that told me. She says, hey, I said, damn, I told her, I said, I'm really nervous because I'm competing with some big people. Like the Baker Boys are big. Theo was big. You know, there was some other people. Diana Steele was big.
Right.
People, John London was big. There was some names out there.
Yeah.
I'm trying to jump in there and see what I could figure out. everybody's kind of got their niche. She told me, you know what? If you go try to be something that you're not, that's not going to work. Why don't you just go and just be you? Just be you. Trust me when I tell you that you are cool at who you are. Trust me.
Right.
I like when I talk to you, you have, and me and my mom were conversating in Spanish, but she's like, you're very good when you talk. So be you and just show them who you are. And that's how that came about. Why I'm saying I had to figure that out, because I had to be different than Theo. Because Theo had the ladies, he had the voice. I'm not much of a voice guy, but I am, because it's distinctive. You know it when you hear it. Oh, that's
absolutely
right. So, but I don't have that voice like Theo had. It was more, that bottom end type of voice. That's more radio, you know what I mean? So that's kind of how that happened. I kind of had to figure out how to just, my daughter being involved, talk about Lynwood, be in the streets, the community, just doing the things that other people weren't really doing, you know what I mean? Now, back to your question, that's not originally how that happened. I got to give my mom the credit for why that happened, you know what I mean?
And you could tell too, like, and before that, what was like your ideas of, like, prior to that conversation with your mom? How did you think you were going to approach it?
I didn't know what to do.
Okay.
I was nervous. I know music, but I didn't know what I'm going to talk about, you know what I mean? And what I'm going to do. I didn't really know that. So I just had to, like, okay, like I used to always think about, like, I would hear like artists or something, and I'd be like, I wish I could ask KRS-One in my own head. And then when that time came, he was in front of me. That's why people would be like, damn, you always ask these dope questions. Well, really, them questions have been wanted to ask for 10 years or whatever.
Real talk.
I just wanted that. So anytime I interviewed, 90% of that interview was the questions that I wanted to know.
Real talk.
I let y'all in on it, but I want to know, because I'm going to get a little more intricate to understand the music, because I'm so deep rooted with it. So I can interview an artist, and I'm a producer. So I understand hip studio and making beats, and I understand producing an artist. I understand more the breakdown of making music, so that helped me a lot when I interview people, because I could get a little deeper into what they really want to talk about is music, because that's what they're musicians. That's what they want to talk about, So that's why I say, you were asking me earlier about how I got started. I grew up in a neighborhood where it was music. My block was all filled with music as a kid.
Right.
So me and my friend Marcellus, rest in peace, his family still lives down the street. We were into radios at a young age, and we were into dancing at a young age. So it just really was it was almost natural to me. It was just something I just been involved in music. When I'm not on the radio, not doing shit, I'm still in the music, but just for my own entertainment. It's for my entertainment. It's just like being a kid out here, the same thing. I've never changed.
And that was the thing, like, what and back in the, were you listening to, like, what stations
we were listening to like KGFJ, we were listening to K-Ace, we were listening to Q, I think it was Q102. They had more of the disco, that were more like the Kiss FM of that time. And then then KGFJ was more the black one, and the black station, and then you'd have like, then K-Day came later. So, we were listening to that, but we were just into music because, I don't know, man, my boy Ray played disco. My other boy was into funk. Everybody on the block was into something. So anytime you were at their house, you were absorbing this thing up. That's why I'm so versatile when it comes to music, because I've been around so much different styles of music, not just black music and hip hop, but people know me for that. But if I go into the old school, shit, I kill you on the old school. That's my shit, right? People don't know that.
Right.
And then the disco, I'm really good at disco. I'm really good at new wave, that white boy new wave shit.
Exactly.
I love that too. So I just always been well-rounded because of my neighborhood, So that's, I give all the credit to Lynwood and my friend Marcellus, rest in peace. Those two things are the reason why I became who I became.
And that's a vibe right there, because you can definitely tell you have that musical influence, and especially when you talk about it, because you can tell when people don't know what the hell they talk about when it comes to the music, and you're like, okay, they just trying to fish for questions. You actually have a genuine understanding of it, and you can tell artists respect that, because they know that you're not just coming at it from that perspective. Like, when did you start actually DJing and saying, okay, I want to get down on that level?
It was started with my friend Marcellus, because we used to, like I said, we were onto our radios and our cassettes and doing all that, right? So one day he had went to an Uncle Jam's army dance. My friend Marcellus, rest in peace. He was a little ahead of his time for his age. So I learned a lot from him because he was like a year older than me, but he seemed like he was like 3 years older than me.
Right.
When I was around him, he was just like that. You know what I mean? He had he had a big family. So his his family took him to an Uncle Jam's army dance as a kid.
Damn.
Yeah.
Right.
So he's the one that came back, and he was good with taking things apart because we used to have go-karts and mini bikes and all that. So he was good at taking things apart. So he took apart this like messed up turntable from this one thing, and then he got another turntable, opposite one, and he had a little realistic mixer, and he put it on his pool table, and he told me, "Hey, man, I think he said he seen Egyptian Lover or Bobcat.
Right.
He seen him do Sucker MCs, boom, bum, 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 bicka, bum, bum, and he did it in front of me. And I was like, damn, it seems so dope to me when you see it live. I'm like, then from there on, that's what I wanted to do. But I was heavy into breakdancing at the time. I was kind of messing with it on the side. I wasn't like fully like committed that I wanted to be a DJ because I didn't have no money.
Right.
Turntables and records, and I couldn't afford all that. You know what I mean? So in your head, you may think that, but you're not. The only thing I could do is go touch other people's things. That's how I came up. I didn't get my equipment until way later. I was using other people's stuff that I met because they thought I was talented. And so use my stuff, bro. You can That's what I would take advantage of people letting me use their stuff. So I didn't have no equipment growing up. It took me a while to get my first turntable.
And then how did you, when you were doing when did you know, okay, I'm nice at this. This is what I need to be really getting into.
What happened was that I used to break dance with Cypress. Well, people know him as Cypress Hill today, but we used to all break dance together as kids. That's how I met them in high school. We come from break dancing. We come from battling, right? So, but we all were good at different things. I was just really intense at break dancing.
Right.
I would always end it. Whatever we were doing, I'd be the end, right? Because I had the head spins, I had the windmills. I had all that because I had been practicing on that for years in Lynwood. I used to go to battles when I was a young little kid. My mom would drive me to battles and sit there and wait. And I used to win contests when I was like 7th grade, 8th grade.
Well, I did not know that. Damn.
Yeah. No, I was very well known in this area for breakdancing. I used to battle people. People knew me. We used to do Southgate Park, like some legendary battles at Southgate Park. People would come from Bell, Maywood, Compton, Lynwood, and we would all meet up at Southgate Park in the back. And we would go for broke, all city. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's how I started first. One day, Sendog is a couple of years older than me. So he had a job, I think in his senior year, or he might have just got out of high school, but he had a job at JCPenney doing security. And so he told us, hey man, there's this gig. They want to pay us $200 to come in the morning. And they were doing this like sweatsuit thing that they were going to put out. And they wanted us to, like, in the morning before they open the store, they have a store meeting. They wanted us to pull up and just put the radio down. And they wanted us to do they had it all laid out. They wanted us to break dance in the middle of the store with these sweatsuits on.
Okay.
And they would give us $200. So I remember ditching school for that. It was about 4 or 5 of us. And we went and we did the whole thing. We got the $200. We went and got some weed in South Central, and then we went to the beach, and we went to smoke and at the beach. On the way back, I told them this is my last thing, man, because I really in my head told myself I wanted to get into DJing. My body was getting really fucked up from breakdancing. It was taking a toll on my young, and I was young, mind you, but it still was taking a toll because it was a lot of practicing, a lot of fucking up my shoulders.
Right.
I still have some stuff that it fucks with me today just because of that. But I used to fuck myself up a lot. So I was just kind of like burned on that, and I was getting taller. And so my body wasn't able to do things a certain way. I was taller and longer. So, all that kind of came to an end basically. And so I said, I wanted to get into DJing. So I tell them that on that drive, hey man, this is my last thing I'm doing, man. I'm gonna quit breakdancing. They're like, what? Because I was really good, they were like, right, man, why? I'm like, man, I want to go into DJing. And they were like, whoa, really? I'm like, yeah. And they're like, man, that's crazy because we want to go into rapping. And I told them in the car, oh, cool. You do rapping, I'll do DJing, and we'll meet later. That's what I told them. Like, well, maybe go work on this, work on your shit, and maybe we could. And that's what ended up happening. This is 10th grade. My senior year, I had got popular at DJing in Southgate. So they were getting in, they were rapping at the time. So some of my backyard parties, I would bring them, and we had a routine that we would do at the end of my mix. And in a backyard party with one mic. Yeah, this was Sendog, Mellow Man Ace, and my friend Tyrone. That's his name is Tomahawk Funk from the group Funk Dubious.
Got you.
That's my other partner, Tyrone, really good rapper. Damn. And Be Real, he was like back hype man for us because he was younger than all of us. So he was still 16, you know what I mean? So he was just young, bro, you know what I mean? So he was rolling with us, but so Sendog was the oldest of us, and then came me. No, Sendog, Mellow, Tyrone, then me, then Be Real. That's how kind of, you know what I mean? So we kind of looked up to Sendog as like our OG in a way because he was older than us. You know?
Right.
You know what I mean? He had a job. You know what I mean?
Exactly. He was out here getting that money.
You know? You know. So to this day, I still look at him. At my age, I still feel like that about him. Like he's like my OG. You know what I mean? Like I look up to him. You know what I mean? So he looked out for us. And so that's how that all happened. By my senior year, we were doing these little backyard parties and all that. And then I jumped on 1580K right out of high school.
And then so going back just a little bit, so now when you say you jumped on 1580, like, so how did that, like there's no Indeed or job application, like, so how does that whole process even happen? Like, how do you even know, like, okay, I want to fuck with the radio station? Because that's even, you know, even today, like I wouldn't even know how to really go. You know
during high school, they were having tryouts for the 1580K Day Mix Masters, which that's what I was listening to.
And what high school did you go to again?
I went to Southgate High School.
Okay, got you.
When I was in high school at that time, okay, I'm listening, and this is like, I'm listening to 1580K Day probably from my 10th grade, 9th, 10th grade. And so I'm already listening to Tony G. And so I'm listening to Jam and Gemini. I'm listening to Hen G. You know what I mean? I'm listening to Arabian Night. Oh no, it wasn't Arabian Night. It was a little bit after me. I forgot it was somebody else that I'm missing, but they were, and then Tony. And then they had a girl DJ for a minute. You know, so people were kind of coming in and out, but they went for another tryout, or they went for a tryout in my, I want to say my 12th grade year. And I remember thinking in my head, because I heard the commercial, I was like, damn, man, I don't know. I mean, do I have the confidence to go for a tryout? You know, because back then you got to remember there wasn't like Hispanics doing this.
Okay.
So it was still a little intimidating too, because you're stepping into all blacks.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's a second layer on you already when they say, oh, what you gonna do?
Right.
It was always that in the beginning for me. And so you had to prove yourself. And then that's what I love about hip hop is that it breaks all that color shit.
Yeah.
When you fucking kill it.
Exactly. If you're nice, you're nice.
They don't give a fuck no more.
Right.
They just know this motherfucker's the shit.
Yeah, you got it. You got it.
He got that. Yeah. So all that color shit, that's what I love about hip hop. It just erases that. When you might come up and somebody may look at the way you dress and think, but then you get busy, like, oh shit. Because this happened to me. This happened. Yeah. Like, what's this little dude gonna do, right? So, oh shit, this motherfucker, he got heat. You know what I mean? So, that's, I'm sorry, I kind of lost a little bit of train of thought.
Yeah. So you go on.
No, the tryouts. I'm sorry.
Yeah, the tryouts. Yeah, the
tryouts. But I don't go. I didn't do it. So I want to say it was maybe 2 months after those tryouts. I'm still in high school, senior year.
Right.
Back to breakdancing. I won two of the contests that I won the money at breakdancing as a kid that my mom drove me to both of those was done by a young promoter named Louis Romo that's still around today.
Oh shit.
This was his early party. So one of the ones I went to breakdance at was at St. Emilius here in Lynwood at a church. Yeah, but he was involved with the church. So they let him rent out the hall to do a dance. And that's how I met Louis. Okay. Coincidentally, later at Southgate High School, Louis's younger brother, I became friends with him. And so Louis started to do the high energy show at 1580 K-Day. This was because he was big. He was becoming big at the time.
Right.
With Casa Camino Real and these big events, Pico Rivera Sports Arena. He was becoming a big promoter.
Mm-hmm.
So they were trying to bring like the dance scene, you know what I mean, in there. So that's how he kind of was connected with 1580 K-Day.
Right. So he was in there already.
He was in there so much, you know what I mean? So he tells me, hey, you want to go up to 1580 K-Day with me? Me and Sergio, his brother. I was like, oh, hell yeah. Oh man, you know, so I remember I asked my mom if I could do it because it was a school night.
Mm-hmm.
So I go up there and I meet Tony G. And my partner Lewis puts us into a battle. Wow. Even though I knew I couldn't fuck with him, but he somehow sits a little battle, just kind of messing around. And that's how I met Tony. But when I was cutting, he said, damn, you should have came to the tryouts. And I thought like, oh man, I should have, you know.
Yeah.
You know, but you know, whatever. Long story short, that's how I met Tony and Greg Mack and the guys at that time. Tony asked me to come back the next week, and we battled again, but more friendly.
Mm-hmm.
And so he was real cool with me, real patient, and he thought I had a little something. And so I started to do some shows with a guy named Jesse Jess from a group called Fast Lane. He had a hot record at the time. He was out here from New York, and my friend Lewis, once again, hooked me up with him. He's like, you need a DJ, you should get, this guy's pretty good, bro. And so I was doing some shows, so I was running into Tony.
Right.
In little locations. And so I ran into him somewhere, and he tells me, hey, I'm gonna make you a mix master. And I was like, what? Oh yeah, okay. Like I didn't know what to make of it. Like, okay. But he kept true to his word. He called me one day, hey, bring your records, you're gonna record on Wednesday. And I came. I thought I was bringing the records that he wanted to play. Like I thought he needed the records. Honestly, I saw how much I didn't believe it.
Right.
Because that was a big deal, and I didn't try out. So mind you, he just got me in the mix masters.
That's crazy.
But he was the leader of the group, you know what I mean? So he knew. So he talked to Greg Mack. He's like, we got to get this dude a chance. He wanted to bring another Hispanic into it.
Yeah.
He's the only one there. You know.
Right.
So he wanted to bring, and also the station was trying to open up that's why they were doing the high energy show and Saturday nights, because they were trying to open up to the Hispanics.
Right.
They were bringing in that music too. So because you know the ratings they were doing great with hip hop. They weren't doing hip hop before that. The station just changed from like some R&B something to some hip hop.
Yeah.
It just took off in the ratings. You know what I mean? So now they wanted to bring in the Hispanics. That was the second phase because Hispanics were getting into it. You know what I mean? And the dances with the Hispanic music was popping.
Right.
So that was kind of the whole beginning of that. You know what I mean? So
and so like what was going through your mind? Because you're like, okay, you break dancing and the whole nine.
I couldn't believe it was happening, but it was a lot of pressure on me because I couldn't fail because a lot of guys had came in and they didn't make it. They played for a while, it didn't work out. You know what I mean? Radio's tricky. When I first started, Tony from the beginning, and I thank him so much for that. He pulled me to the side and said, hey, listen, man, you can do all this scratchy stuff that these guys do. I try to tell them this is not how it is, but that's what they want to do. I need you to mix. I need you to cut up here and there, but I need you to mix, and I need you to mix records really good. So I want you to think about mixing. And I'm like, damn, okay. So when I went home, that's all I kept thinking about because I was so used to chopping a record up. You know what I mean?
Right.
That was the thing. It was like, you know, you want to play, I'll let the record play, but the next record comes on, I'm going to cut this shit too. And I want to bring the clap. He was the one that got me to understand not to do that. And so it took me a while to understand it, but he kept coaching me through it as I went through it. Like he would tell me like he'd heard, you know, hey, I heard one of your mixes, man. You should have got out of that in the first verse and then went to this record. Oh man, yeah, you let it play too long. And stuff, just little stuff like that. So I started to kind of work on it and like understand how everything works, which helped me later because that's what 92.3 The Beat, I kind of had an idea of programming and understanding how people think and how music touches people in certain ways at certain moments and times.
Absolutely.
I learned that from Tony. So don't play this record at this time. Like it's cool, it's 8 o'clock at night. You don't need to play this. That's some shit for the morning.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't have thought that. I was like, damn, but when he said that to me, then I was like, from then on, I looked at records different. Oh, is that a morning record? Is that an afternoon record? Do you want to hear that at night? You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
And were you coachable? Were you a good student? Because
yeah.
a lot of times
For sure. This is Tony G. This is Tony.
Yeah,
This is the person that I looked up to and listened to and always just wanted to be like. So now he's kind of schooling me on that because he knew I had it. He knew I had it because I studied him. You understand what I'm saying? It's like when you listen to somebody on the radio and you're studying everything that they're doing, and then they meet you, it's not that difficult for him to coach me because I'm like, oh, okay, that's okay, okay, I got it. So now I gotta make it dope. Now I gotta tweak it in my way. And I think that's what Tony G always respected about me is that I don't just use your shit and steal your shit. I do something with it and I change it. And I make something and then I add my own little pieces to it. And then I bring something to the table with it. You know what I mean? So he knew that that's how we would make records too. You know, we'd bounce off each other, you know what I mean? And it's kind of the same thing with the DJing thing. But he's much more better of a DJ than me. I'll never be at that guy's level because of the way he plays music. He's just a musical person. He just mentally knows how to listen to music and break it down in form of music. And I'm a play by ear person. I'm not a trained musician. He's a musician. So it's different how he DJs because he hears a kick drum different than me and you because we're not musicians.
Right.
So he knows the beat, how it goes into what, and what bass line is to that, and what key goes to this song. All that he was doing back then with no computer.
Damn.
Yeah, he's really talented. He's way more talented than people think.
That's insane.
Yeah.
And for you being able to get under his wing like that, obviously, you know, that takes you to the next level. Like going back to like your first time on the radio, like now just Julio G as a person, how like to be on the radio at that point and people hearing your name, were you known as Julio G or did that?
Yeah, I was known as Julio G. So people had like, you know, my name was starting to buzz.
How, and what's that like? Like you hitting the streets and people are like, "Oh shit!" Like, damn, I heard you on the break. Like,
hey, you on the radio?
Yeah, tell me about that first experience. Like, what was the first I heard you on the radio moment? How'd that shit go?
Okay, I tell you, I was DJing at a dance in San Fernando Valley, and I had to pull under a telephone pole and find it in a certain like on the street. Because the wave of 1580K, the frequency was lower at night. So I had to find it like frequency. And so I found a pole and I heard my first mix. And it was mind blowing to me because I couldn't believe, because this is what I used to do on Saturdays. I used to listen to them mix, Mixmaster show. So now I'm hearing myself, and we used to talk in the beginning. So now I'm hearing my voice and I'm like, oh my God. And that's my mix. Oh my God, oh my God. And then I went to the dance and people are like, hey man, I heard you coming in here, damn. Because I had booked that before they knew I was gonna be in the radio. So it was kind of a cool thing to show up and be like, damn, people was already like, I heard you coming in the parking lot, man. And so I'm gonna get up there, you know. So then I got up there and got me. I'll never forget that night. San Fernando Valley, Lollipop Productions, man.
Yeah.
My boy Danny,
And what are you saying back to him? They're like, I heard you on the radio. Like,
I'm just like, man, honestly, I just didn't really know what to do because I'm in this group that I look up to. It's like, it's only 5 of us. It's not like everybody's DJing. It's Tony G, Joe Cooley, M Walk, Jammin' Gemini, and then I came as number 5, Julio G. So it was just like, oh man, I gotta keep up with these guys. I gotta keep up with this situation. It wasn't like, oh, I made it. It was like, oh man, it was kind of more like, oh my God, what I get myself into. Yeah, it was nerve-wracking because these guys are good, man. These guys, this is Joe Cooley, this is M Walk. M Walk was another scratch beast. He was a beast at scratching. Like I had to keep up with that dude. He knew his shit. You know, he used to get busy. So, you know, Joe Cooley, then Tony's a mixologist.
Yeah, he taking it to the next level.
And then Jammin' Gemini, he is a whole other type of mixologist. He just had a way of DJing he was less scratch, he was more mixing, and he would mix abstract things that you wouldn't think of mixing. He would do like Kool Moe Dee into loose ends, but it would sound dope. Like, oh my God, I remember one day in my room, I was listening to him about to go to a dance, and I had him on because he used to come on at 10. And he was probably about 10 minutes into the mix, and he did one of those because I kind of would know his style. And I'm like, he went into something with Loose Ends. I don't remember what record it was. I'm like, damn, I would have never thought of mixing those two records. But damn, that sounds so dope.
That's crazy.
Damn, he used to get me with those type of things. It wasn't his scratching and all that. It was the mixing that he would do and what he would blend with each other. So that's what I'm saying. I had to compete with a lot of different styles. So it was like, once again, where do I fit in here? I got to figure out my thing. But like I said, Tony G helped me a lot by explaining that to me, like, stick to the music and the mixing. That's what's the key.
Yeah.
And get in and out of records quick.
And you can tell you got that energy and that vibe. And so like, and at that point, even going back to just like, in the music, but even going back to how did moms receive you in this position? Like
my mom didn't understand what I was really doing.
Okay.
It wasn't her. She was way older than me. So she just knew like it was keeping me off the streets. So, and because the streets were ugly at the time. This is the 80s.
Right.
This is the crack era.
Yeah.
We're losing people. People are dying left and right on my neighborhood. And it was crazy. You know what I mean? So she was just like, look, because you have to practice to do that. Same thing with breakdancing. That should save my life. Because if not at that early age, I probably would have been doing some criminal shit or some crime. Not because I'm a criminal, but because you're running around with your friends and you're fucking around. And that's part of the kid, bro. Sometimes when you're in the hood, you know what I mean? You just do shit because you want to be with your friends. And
exactly.
It wasn't that I don't like to say it like that. I don't want to say, oh, I was just gonna be a criminal. I think down to myself like that. Not necessarily, but I probably would have fucked up with this. I'm stupid. That starts you off in the dumb shit.
And that's the thing about people don't realize in the 80s. I grew up 79th and 5th. And the thing about LA that makes it so interesting is just like it can be Boys in the Hood and it can be Friday at the same time. And so it's like hella fun, but then at the same time, fun can get you into trouble. And that movie script can change really quick from a comedy to a drama to a goddamn horror movie. You know what I mean? And it's just about like, where do you decide to to go?
I've seen that happen. That's why I've had friends that happened to, So that's why I say that breakdancing helped me stay off the streets because you had to practice, right? Same thing with the DJing. When I got into DJing, I had to practice. And then when I got into the mix masters, I had to practice. I didn't have time to be in the street, bro. I just can't hang out with you, bro. I ain't got time. I lost a lot of friends. I didn't even have really many friends at the time because it was all about DJing. And then once I got on, we're doing all these different dances every weekend. I had to be on point. We're doing the mixes during the week. I'm doing the quick mix. I'm doing the traffic jam. I'm doing Saturday night mix masters all week, and then doing two or three dances. It was just always going on. You know what I mean? So I didn't have time really for much, but to do that. You know what I mean?
And then what's the paper looking like for you at that point?
Well, this is the fucked up part about it. 1580K, they never paid us.
No shit.
I never made $1 for 1580K. That's what a lot of people don't know. We did that for free. We never got a check from K-Day, like with the, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
He made money at dances with Greg Mack when he would do a Friday Night Live or something, and he would kick us off some money, but it wasn't like, oh shit, I'm gonna go retire off this money. Like it wasn't that. It was just some money to put in your pocket. But it wasn't, our thing was to get the stuff outside of 1580K because of the, right? So now I would go do dances outside of them and make money, and that's how we would do our thing.
Right.
Later on, me and Tony got into producing records.
Got you.
We really started making like real money for us. It was not the DJing that did that for us. It was really the producing the records.
And did you ever have a conversation with them, or were you like, this is a cool exchange? I'm good with this.
I mean, we didn't know, bro.
Okay.
We're just kids. We just came out from the hood, dog. We got hood fame. You know?
Yeah.
That was enough. That was like that was the money. Like we were hood famous, like mix masters. You know, I mean, it was hard to explain, but it was like I said, we weren't rich or nothing. We just were hood famous though. Like you would have thought that, like we were the shit. The mix 1580K mix masters. So, that's it was fun times. We didn't know, bro. We were just doing hip hop. We didn't know what it was gonna be. Nobody knew. We were just going the next record to the next record to the next record. We didn't know if the shit was gonna die out in 1991. It could have just died out. It just disco was great and it died out. Right? Things can't die out. It doesn't mean that hip hop's here. It'll be here for 100 years. we estimated. And
Right. There's no scientist to give
nobody knew
the
that.
longevity of the shit. Yeah.
Nobody knew what the fuck this was, bro. These record labels didn't know this shit in the beginning. That's why all the early records are all independent, because nobody real major really wanted to do anything with rap, like, you know. But 1580 K-Day was the beginning. Oh, here's a radio station in LA that's playing hip hop, like, and this shit is blowing up, and they're doing concerts, and you know, so that's the early days. We didn't really know about the money. That's why the 90s was different.
And then talk about some of the artists, and even going back a little bit. So when you're doing this, you're keeping in contact with, where is Cypress Hill in their career while you're at 1580 K-Day, and what's those conversations like?
We're still running into each other from time to time, but they were kind of doing their own thing. They weren't even Cypress Hill yet in them times. They were all just kind of, you know, B-Real got into some gang banging, and they was kind of halfway in the streets, halfway trying to do music. Then I ended up introducing them to Muggs before I got on 1580 K-Day, because I met Muggs first. And so I brought Muggs on the block, and that's how they started to work on like Cypress Hill later, a little bit later. What happened was that during the time towards the end of 1580 K-Day, my ex-girlfriend was friends with Mellow Man Ace's girlfriend at the time. And I forgot how I think she gave him my number, and he called me, and he was working on his Escape from Havana album. He had gotten a record deal. And so, but he didn't really know what he was really doing in the sense of like putting an album together. You know, we're all new to this, you know?
Right.
But I told him, let's go to Tony G's house. He's a producer. And he's like, yeah, you for real? I was like, yeah, man, he's a producer. Not that I even knew that Tony G was that producer, but he had just got an SP 1200. So I brought him down there, and that's when they made Rhyme Fighter and then Mentirosa. Yeah, so that happened, like, that's how that happened.
Okay.
That's how I kind of got back with them, talking and hanging with them again, was through Got you. Yeah, because when I was on the radio, I was so busy, I didn't have time to go to the block. I was in my own world, figuring it out with the 1580 K-Day mix masters, because like I said, it was a lot on my plate doing that, you know what I mean? So, but that's what I'm saying, towards the end, that's when I got him to come to Tony's house, and that's when they end up doing those records and then finishing up his album.
Oh, no kid, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And then going back to being at K-Day 1580, talk about some of the artists that you built relationships with at the station.
I think it was maybe my second or third mix where Tony G, he hands me Public Enemy Time Bomb, and I play it for the first time in LA. It was the beginning of my mix at 9:00 on a Saturday. And that was a big deal, because they became who they became, you know what I mean? And so, and I remember probably in my second week, I played South Bronx for the first time on the radio from Boogie Down Productions.
Wow.
Yeah, and I got that record from Ice-T before I got on 1580 K-Day. He gave it to me at his house. He says, hey man, he goes, hey man, on the way out, he's like, hey man, look out for my friend, look out for my boy right here, man. He got a dope record. And I still got him, actually. I still got the original white label Test Persons. He says, check him out. And I got those two records from Ice-T. And that's how that's why I kind of came into 1580 K-Day breaking some records.
No shit. And then how did you get your relationship? How did you and Ice-T meet?
I met Ice-T because I was doing those shows with this guy, Jesse Jess. And we met him like backstage somewhere, and he invited me to his crib. He said, come over, man. I'm in Hollywood, man. Whenever you over there, just hit me up. And so I'm like, okay, I'll come Monday. Because this is Ice-T, you know what I mean? I wanted to be, I'm a fan of him too, you know what I mean? Big. Like, I'm like, damn, Ice-T invited me to, he liked the way I cut. He's like, man, you get down, man. Like, come over, man. Like, and man, he was so nice, bro. I brought me and my friend Bobby went over there, and he sat there and talked to us about hip hop and the music business for like 3 hours, 4 hours, man. And gave me so much game. And I remember leaving there, and that's when I walked out. He goes, oh, hey, by the way, man, look out for my homie, man. He got a dope ass record. That's why I love Ice-T, because he ain't never been no hater. He didn't have to do that, dog. He didn't have to do somebody's record. You know what I mean? Like, artists don't do that.
Yeah.
But he was like that. You know what I mean? So he's a real one. So that's how I got that record. But yeah, I came in kind of breaking records. That's always kind of been my thing.
And that's really, and even going back a little bit, because I think like when you say he's giving you so much game, like what are some of the jewels that he blessed you with that you can kind of say that you took with you even today?
That the music business is fake. and you got to watch people. And so that was kind of his whole, hey man, you got to watch the music business people, man. Sometimes they'll have you sign a contract. And that's why I understood about contracts early and things like that, because of just that first conversation with him. And just, he wasn't like beating it down, hating or nothing. He was just in conversation, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, yeah, man, you got to watch these record labels sometimes. You do this and do that, and they can get caught up in this. Then you can't get out. You got to get a lawyer. All that stuff was like, oh shit, damn, this is crazy. Like, I'm not knowing. I'm just listening to records. I don't know all the background yet. I ain't even thought about the background. I'm looking at the records. I just thought the songs was dope. But he gave me the more background of it earlier in the game. You know what I mean? So.
Which is so important, because like sometimes as a creative, you just like, all right, cool. And then it's not until you hear these behind the music stories and you're like, damn, motherfuckers got fucked over because they didn't know the business side. So that's just crazy. And then so now you what are some other records you break? We give you your flowers today.
Let me see. I mean, I would, man, I get
at K-Day.
A few De La records, maybe like some Gangstar, I think from Wild Pitch. I think I probably was the first one to play Words That I Manifest. This is right before I got out. I mean, there's a lot of them. I can't remember. I got to think back, man. There's so many of them, but I was on top of records, and I was DJing a lot on the radio, so it was like I had to stay on top of the hip hop. You know what I mean, and what was happening.
And then as far as West Coast hip hop, the Dre's,
the Everlasting Bass, the LA Breeze, the Egyptian Lover, the Dream Team. Of course, later on, Eazy-E, NWA. DOC, what else are we getting off? Toddy T, Mixmaster Spade, King T, Compton's Most Wanted, all that came through. We were all like kind of doing like some bait. No, I don't even want to say it's West Side Radio, but we already were like on that West Coast thing back then, because we were trying to even it out a little bit, because it was all the East Coast guys, they had like major record deals.
Right.
And all these West Coast guys, they were just on independent little labels.
Yeah.
We were trying to like mix up, LL Cool J with Rodney O.
Right.
What I'm saying? So it sounds like it makes sense. And then come back out with like Public Enemy, and then go into like, Toddy T. So that's kind of was our thing, especially when Joe Cooley came with Everlasting Bass, because he was our boy, and we were popping. I remember when he brought the record first time before we even heard it. He had the actual record, and he was on the picture, and that inspired all of us. We were like, "Oh shit, Joe, this is dope, man! Like, damn, this is your record." It was a big deal for us, and then playing it and hearing it, because he kills it on there. We were like, "Oh, this is hard." So we felt like we had to go hard with Joe Cooley. Like we had to go hard with Rodney O. Because he was our boy. You know what I mean? And so. I'll never forget that. That was a big deal when he brought that record. It made us all want to find a rapper and start making records now with people.
Yeah.
Like not just DJing at a party. Like, what I mean? It took us into that page. You know what I mean? So.
And who were were you guys looking for more talent when you guys went out?
Everybody was. Yeah, everybody. I ended up working and finding Def Jeff.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah. We didn't end up working together at the end of the whole situation. But that was kind of the whole thing. I was gonna drop with Def Jeff, right? So I was working with Def Jeff, and then M-Walk, he created a group called The Union, and then M-Walk had another rapper he was working with. So we all started to try to find our way. And then Tony G was doing an actual Mixed Masters album, and so he was there. Joe Cooley was with Rodney O. You know what I mean? And Bobcat was with LL Cool J, even though he was in a Mixed Master, but he was a big DJ in LA. So we were all trying to like, oh, we gotta find our rapper. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we're in that phase.
And it's all growing, because you go from from breakdancing, now you mixing, now you understanding the business, now you're attaching yourself to artists, and now you're understanding programming. So now this is the evolution of just
make records. Now it's like let's make records.
Yeah.
Let's make records now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let's do that. So that was the next thing to it. You know what I mean?
That's crazy. And then so you're at K-Day. How long were you at K-Day for?
I was there. I got in September of '86, and I probably somewhere 89, end of 89.
Okay.
We end up all leaving.
Why'd you end up leaving K-Day?
Because we wanted to get paid.
Well, that makes sense. Goddamn.
Yeah. Eventually, they had made a lot of money, and we were getting, we were just having a better understanding of what was going on with. what happened is that one day we were at a Denny's, and it was after a party, and it was this is Tony G used to have the equipment that we did these dances with. So whenever you went to a K-Day dance, that was Tony's speakers, Tony's turntables, Tony's headphones, Tony's lights, Tony's everything. It was all him. He's not only a great musician, he's also like a computer geek and
tech guy.
He's a tech guy, bro. He's just one of those guys that takes wires apart and this. Yeah. So he's that dude too. So I would help him set the stuff up, break it down, you know. And so whatever. So we were doing a dance and we were coming back that night. I went to Denny's late at night. And this guy walked up to us and he's like, he works at Kiss FM at the time. And he's like, you know, he recognized Tony or whatever. He's like, hey, you're Tony G. Are you Tony G? He's like, yeah, hey, man. Oh man, I'm just a big fan of yours, man. Just, man, it's such a pleasure to meet you, man. And congratulations, man. It's amazing. And he's like, yeah, congratulations for what? Oh, the ratings. Oh yeah, what ratings? Oh, you didn't hear? Man, 1580 K-Day, the Mix Masters at night. You guys are like #1 in LA. You guys beat everybody. And I was right across from him. We both looked at each other and we're like, oh yeah, for real? We didn't know. We didn't even think about that. We didn't even think, hey, I wonder how many people are listening. We never thought that. We never thought, hey, I wonder where we are in the ratings. How would we know how to find that? Think about that. Even if I told you today, go find the radio ratings, it still would take you the time with the internet. Imagine back then, trying to figure out who do you call to ask what the ratings are? You know? We don't know.
The ratings guy, yeah.
I don't know, dog.
Exactly.
But on the way home, that's when Tony was like, hey man, fuck that. These motherfuckers are gonna pay, man. These motherfuckers are making a lot of money. And we're sitting here doing this shit for fucking free. Fuck that. So that was it. And then the thing about it was we had just got new mix masters. We had done another tryout because Joe was busy with Rodney O. M-Walk was doing his own thing too. You know, Tony was with the mix masters producing that record. And, you know, we needed more people because we didn't have enough people to be on the radio to mix. It was all on me sometimes. And it was a lot, you know what I mean? So we ended up doing a tryout again where we got DJ Ruff in, then we got Trey Ski, rest in peace. Then we got Battle Cat and Aladdin and Romeo and somebody else, I think. But we just got some more mix masters. So they caught the tail end of maybe like 6 months of it. You know what I mean? Because that's when they got to that point where like, we got to get paid.
Right.
And so Tony approached them about it. And then they came back to us. They wanted us to split $2,500 amongst all of us per month.
Oh, that's whack.
And we were like offended by that. Like,
yeah.
Not just in how you just said $2,500 amongst all of us, but just like what would make you think that we're gonna like that's how much you think of us?
Right.
So Tony
and who's the program? Is it like white folks? Like who are these people that are making?
It's a mixture of people, but you got to remember these are the old school people that were playing the R&B.
Okay.
They don't know. They just know that this thing took off, and they're just falling back, and they're making money. So now that this comes up, they didn't know how to approach it because they don't even know our impact to what we're doing, what they have. They didn't understand the impact that the mix masters had with this, right? And so we have a meeting, and that's when they come with the $2,500. And Tony G was the one that said, "Oh no, I'm cool, man. I'm out." And I remember, for me, it was like, I mean, I walked in here with this guy. This guy, I'm with him. I hang with him. This is my guy. I'm sorry. I have to let it go too. I'm out. And then Joe Cooley was next. And Joe, because he looked up to Tony too in that way, you know what I mean? Respected Tony. He's like, if Tony's out, I'm out.
And so, is this face to face or is this
face to face? This is in one conference room.
And then what's the reactions in the room? What's the pretty
much because what were the rest gonna do? They just got there. They looked up to Tony too. So it was like kind of like we here because of this dude. We kind of, you understand what I'm saying? Like we all had our view of him, you know what I mean? And so when he said he was out, it kind of made everybody be like, well, I don't really want to be here. If he ain't gonna be here, should we? What's the mix masters then? This is who, because you know these other guys just came. They look up to Tony too. So
yeah.
They just got there, and it's like, you know. But one thing I will respect about all those guys is that they really stayed loyal to Tony, and they didn't stay. They all left, and so we basically all left and just dismantled the 1580 K-Day mix masters right there. And I remember in the parking lot, we all dapped each other, and we were like, you know, I'll catch you later because we gonna go and continue into hip hop. Like,
and so when, I guess I'll get to the part where you guys rebranded as K-Day Mixed Masters, but then at that point there was no conversation of, oh, we can just do this independently as a group.
No, we all said later to each other, we're gonna go our own ways. And like I said, Joe Cooley went with Rodney O. M-Walk had his situation, which he ended up getting with Tone Loc, right? And the Far Side. So I think it was the Far Side too, but he ended up working with some big people after K-Day too. Then Ralph M went to work with Kid Frost, that we did.
Right.
That's how we brought Ralph M to be Kid Frost's DJ in the beginning. And so he kind of reinvented himself through that early La Raza time, which was big. And then everybody kind of went their own ways. I went with Tony, and that's where Mellow Mayonnaise came and La Raza came, and we went into producing and building our studio. And that's how we went. Later on, we got with Eazy-E and got on the beat, but that's what we were doing right after. So we all kind of just went our own ways. Battle Cat went to produce.
Right.
Everybody just went their own ways, but we all would run into each other. We have like it's like a brotherhood, man. It's crazy. It's like,
and you can tell even now on the gram, like even on all the social media sites, it's like a fraternity. Like it's like Alpha Sigma K-Day Mixmaster. Like you already know, you already know the deal.
We'll always be connected because we were the early hip hop, early hip hop DJs, and we pushed the envelope. It was about that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man, respect. And so fast forward to you and Eazy-E, like how did that relationship start?
Well, I met Eazy-E in 1987 at a Bell High School dance. And so he came up to me while I was DJing. We were doing a Friday Night Live. And I want to clear something up because I've said in interviews that I was the first one to play Boys in the Hood, but it may have played on the radio before me. I don't remember that, but from what my remembrance of it is, I had never heard this record, and I never heard of Eazy-E, right? So, but I don't want to take credit and say that I made Eazy-E. I just played one verse of the song at that dance. Greg Mack is really the guy that blew Eazy-E up. That's the guy that broke the record, you know what I mean? So I don't want to take I think sometimes people confuse what I say, or maybe the way I say it sounds like I'm trying to discredit him or take his credit. I don't want to do that. That is his credit. He blew up Eazy-E, there's no question. I'm just saying when I met Eazy-E, I played one verse of Boys in the Hood at this dance because he asked me to play it. I never had really an artist walk up to me and ask me to play a record. But the first time I played it, I told him when I heard it in the headphone, because I never just play a record because you walk up to me and say, play my record.
Right.
We're at a dance. There's 1,000 kids dancing right here at the Bell High School dance, and we're live on the radio. So, but he asked me, he waited a few times and asked me, hey man, just listen to my song. And I'm like, okay, give me a second because I'm DJing. I'm live on the radio, bro.
Right.
Let me get a record on his side.
Yeah.
On his side, right? So I listened to it real quick and I told him, hey, it sounds like 6 in the morning. And he's like, yeah, but that's not 6 in the morning. This Boys in the Hood. He says, Dr. Dre did this. And I'm like, because I love Dr. Dre. From back then as a kid, I grew up on Dr. Dre too. I'm a fan of him as a DJ. Before the big producer that he is, right? As a DJ, Dr. Dre, World Class Record Crew, I was a fan of. So I'm like, oh man, why don't you say so, man? I love Dr. Dre. So I wanted to play it. Like, I fuck with Dr. Dre, right? Because we were such a small, tight-knit unit at the time. There wasn't so many of us in hip-hop.
Right.
I fuck with Dre. So, okay. So I played one verse of it at a dance and then got out of it. And then, because it wasn't popular, nobody knew what it was.
Yeah.
So, cool. So then I had got off the turntables and maybe about 20, 30 minutes later, I hear it again. And then now I'm in the back over here, but I recognize it. Damn it. And I see Eazy-E. He's over there with Tony G now. Same thing. He's getting him to play it. So it was really funny. That's how easy he was.
He was campaigning.
He was campaigning, bro. He was very, very like he had a way of getting things. So he got that record played twice that night. You know what I mean? So that's where I met him originally. And then I ran into him again after 1580K Day was over at a dance, and I introduced him to Mellow Man Ace. And the funny thing about that is that Mellow Man Ace had dissed him in the song Right Fighter. I don't know if Eazy ever knew that. I never asked him about that. But that's where I seen him again, and we chopped it up. And he was a star at that time. He was really big. But he was so nice. He came over to me and talked to me, and he remembered, he had love because he remembered the beginning.
Right. The dance.
Yeah. So then I ran into him again. I started to work with a girl named Terry B, and I was producing some songs for her, and she was signed to him. So there was a couple of times that I met him at the mall, and he would pay me. And so I would run into him and talk to him real quick, whatever. But it wasn't until later where he came to my studio, and that's when I started to work with him. This is like in '93.
Okay.
Yeah, he came to the studio through Greg Mack, actually. Greg Mack's the one that brought him to our studio. And that's how the whole thing kind of went into 92.3, the beat from there.
Okay. And so even going back, so now you when you say you're working with them, you guys are obviously you're making records together. And then how does it transition into, well, even going back and leave it a little bit more, how do you even get into how does the beat situation start for you? And then we'll go back to Eazy.
What happened was that Eazy came, and Greg Mack had started to work with Eazy at his label. So I guess he just wanted to bring him around because we had stuff. We were working on Kid Frost. We had some projects. So he came, and I played him Kid Frost's Smile Now, Die Later album because it had been sitting on the shelf at Virgin Records, and we were having an issue with it. And so I just took a risk with it. Like, damn, I'm gonna just play it for Eazy-E, man. Maybe he can help me out somehow, because I'm just stuck. We're just stuck. We don't have the lawyer money to go fight these people and get the record back. It was just a bunch of nonsense going on. So I play him the record, and then cool, he leaves, and he calls like a couple days later, and he's like, "Hey, how much you want for that record?" I'm like, "Man, we're like 100,000 in at Virgin, man." He's like, "All right, check it out. I'm gonna get Jerry to get you out this deal, and I'm gonna give you another 50,000 and record 4 more songs, and then give Frost some money, and y'all take the money for the production." I'm like, "Oh, man." And then he goes, "Hey, and I want you guys to meet me at my office at 8 in the morning on Thursday." And I'm like, and he's way in Woodland Hills. I'm like, now he just gave us a record deal now, so I can't tell him no.
Right.
I'm like, hold on. Hey, Tony, we got to see Eazy-E at 8 in the morning in Woodland Hills. I had to leave at my house at 6 in the morning so we can make it to this meeting. But when we went, he said something about the radio. "Man, I want you to come over, man. I want to talk to you about something on the radio." Okay, so we go to his office. And so he says, "Man, we gonna go over to 92.3 The Beat. Just roll with me." Okay. So we end up going to 92.3 The Beat. And so he walks in, we walk in with him, and we walk around, talk to some people, and somehow we end up in an office. And honestly, I did most of the talking. He didn't even talk that much.
What were you talking? What were you saying?
Well, I'm assuming this dude wants to do a radio show because he mentioned that to me. And I was like, "Oh, well, check it out. We used to do this and da. So what I don't know is that before, see, I didn't find this out till years later, years later. Eazy-E had been going to 92.3 The Beat, hanging out, just showing up.
And where is the beat at this point?
This is the one that's the one that's on Yucca.
Okay, and who's the jocks at this point? Like is
Theo, and
okay.
I think maybe John London might have been there. I think Dinah Still was there.
Okay, so it's that time. Okay,
it's that time. Yeah, and then I forgot who they had at night. I think this guy Trey Black, but there was somebody even before him. It was a few people, but Theo was kind of the thing in the morning show, and Theo, I think, forever. But he was going there to hang out. They didn't know what to do with Eazy-E because they're like starstruck a little bit, but but Death Row is really popping right now, so they're feeling like, you know what I mean? So this is what, I don't know this, but this is what's happening. And so Eazy-E's popping into Mariama's office. Eazy-E's popping into Michelle S's office. Eazy-E's popping into Keith Napley's office. Easy, you know what I'm saying? He's kind of going around the station.
He's campaigning again.
He's campaigning. So there was a night that the Baker Boys on Power 106 invited me and Tony to come up and DJ. They wanted us to take it back to the K-Day days and cut up all the older records. So we ended up doing that. And when they're on the radio, they're giving it up to us like, man, we came up because of these guys. These are the reason we got into radio. And these guys are, you know, because we started the Baker Boys in LA, me and Tony. A lot of people don't know that.
Okay, so how did that story happen? Because I don't want to lose that.
Okay, well, the Baker Boys used to listen to 1580 K-Day. They used to go up to a little part of Bakersfield where they could get the signal on Saturday nights, and they would get the Mixmaster show and all that. One day, their pops, rest in peace, because I know their family. He brought them as little kids to the Casa Camino Real, and he came. The security came and asked us, "Hey, can you come out? This man will pay you guys $100 each if you come out and just talk to his sons." We were like, "What? Oh man, he ain't got to do all that shit, man. Just tell him to come in, man." Yeah, but his kids are small, like young. And then we were like, because we knew the security. We're like, man, it's cool, man. They ain't gonna be drinking it, man. We just let them come in, man. So we ended up letting them come on the stage and chill with us. And it was Eric V and Nick V. You know what I mean? They were young.
No. How old were they at the time?
And they probably were about maybe 17, 15.
Oh, shit.
They were young. Because I was young at the time. I was 18, 19. So they're younger than me.
Crazy. Right? Yeah.
So that's why the pops had to bring them. So we ended up meeting them, talking to them, and the pops, we kept in contact with the pops. So he ends up like building them like some little club, and they started doing their own thing up in Bakersfield. And they asked us to come DJ up there, and we used to do like stuff with the Baker. They would pay us to go to Bakersfield and cut with them and do dances with them. And so we had that relationship with them. And then eventually they started coming to LA, and that's one of my friends, ALTs, who named them the Baker Boys. Because they were from Bakersfield, they kept coming back.
Okay.
We're like, oh, these are from Bakersfield, the Baker Boys, the Baker Boys.
Yeah, that's some history.
Yeah, that's ALT gave them that name. Yeah, so that's but that's why they put us on the radio that night. And they're like, no, these are the guys that came and you know what I mean? These, you know, so they're giving it up. And now Michelle S is hearing that. And she's like, I need to know who these dudes are. Who are these dudes? Because the Baker Boys was a big thing at that time.
Yeah.
The way they're giving it up, she's like, I need to know who these dudes are. Like, and so who Eazy-E, he hears that and like, oh, I know, I got that. So I didn't know that when he brought us to that station. I didn't know the backstory part of it.
Right.
We just walked in and we started talking about that, but no, they wanted to talk to us. And so that's how Eazy kind of, okay. So Michelle S says, okay, this sounds great. Make me a demo. And so me and Tony G was like, because we didn't know we were producing music.
We're
not here to DJ with Eazy. We're not even DJing anymore. Honestly, we just had a little setup, but to cut on records, but we weren't like DJing unless we're cutting up It's Time or Planet Rock. But it wasn't like that records, and we were buying records. We weren't DJing anymore. We were producing. So I'm like, oh shit. So we go outside. And Eazy-E's like, man, y'all got that? I'm like, Eazy, look, man, we ain't got no records, bro. We don't have like no new shit. I don't know about this whole demo shit. Because we really didn't, I didn't want to lie to him, you know what I mean?
Right, real talk.
So he's like, man, fuck that. Don't worry about it. I'll meet you at the studio later. So man, he went from there. Maybe a day or two later, he shows up at our studio with like three big ass bags of records, all brand new. He went to the record store, bro. And he brought me all these records. Is this what you need? I'm like, oh, Eazy, you something else. So boom, now I had to make the demo. And then when we made the demo, we hadn't even DJed in so long. We were having a hard time just even making the demo, dog. Honestly. Me and Tony were like, oh my God, I forgot how records go. I forgot this. Man, record this. And then we had to record and everything. We were still having a hard time. But we ended up doing something. We thought they were gonna be like, fuck these dudes. And they were like, okay, you're starting July 4th weekend. We were like, oh shit, we got to do a radio show now. And
so did they want talk breaks or just the music?
They wanted to do a radio show.
Okay.
But this is what's crazy about it. Eazy-E goes to do the Bone Thugs and Harmony Thuggish Ruggish Bone video.
Mm.
And in the meantime, the radio station calls Tony and myself to meet with them, right? So we go and we're like, where's Eric at? They're like, oh, well, we didn't call Eric. We just wanted to talk to you guys. So we were like, oh. we knew something was up.
Right.
So they slid us 2 pieces of paper and said, like a contract, we want you guys to do Saturday nights. And we were like, look, check this. And it wasn't even like, we didn't even have to, me and Tony are a lot the same. And I kind of came up with him. And so I look up to him in that way, but we're a lot the same. He didn't have to tell me nothing. I didn't have to tell him nothing. We're just not going to do that.
Mm-hmm.
We're not. We love you and that's cool. And thanks for the opportunity, but we're not going to backstab this dude, man.
Right.
We walked in here with him. And plus, this is our boy. You know what I mean? And it's like, we're working with him. I'm not going to, oh, hey, sorry about that, Eazy.
Yeah.
We on the radio and me and Tony got to do our thing.
Yeah. That's
Eazy probably wouldn't have tripped.
yeah.
But we didn't want to do that.
Yeah.
We're like, look, you got to take Eazy-E because we will not do it without. And so they had to take Eazy-E. You know,
what do you think their hesitation of not having Eazy?
They were scared of Eazy-E because of Death Row.
Mm.
They didn't want the affiliation with him because he wasn't the popping guy right there. He was, Death Row was the hotter thing. I'm sorry, it's just the truth. It just, but Eazy was still hot, but he just they were like dominating. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They were scared. Suge was big, and he ended up coming to the station. So they got that ended up happening. Something ended up happening behind that too. So they were kind of right, but it got worked out. But that's kind of what I believe was their thing. They didn't want to deal with that. They wanted
and so they were scared. And not to get your business, but what was those figures looking like on that paper that they slid?
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, it wasn't like a big deal, but it was nice for just a 1 day a week thing.
Okay, copy.
For me and Tony, we were cool with that. We're like, because we were making our producer money, so we were like, hey, you know what, man, we can do that. I'll fuck with that. That's cool. We have some money in the pocket. We're doing our own thing over here. We were really tripping because we were working with Eazy already on other things, so we were making money with him too. So we weren't really, starving for money at the time. So it was cool. It was decent. I can't front on them at all.
Okay, and so now you have to, does that make you feel like, like the beat, they kind of on some funny shit? Because that's how the funny shit's kind of
Well, that's how radio is. That's just the radio.
Yeah.
So back to Eazy-E, when you look at the Thuggish Ruggish Bone video, you don't see him in it that much.
Mm-hmm.
And because he heard and got wind that they try to go behind our back, his back, and he called me that early that next morning because he took a red eye the fuck out of Cleveland and came back. He called me early in the morning because Eazy was good at calling you early. He was an up early dude.
Okay.
Eazy-E was never a 10 a.m. ever that I ever dealt with him. He wasn't I'm sleeping until 10 a.m., 9 a.m. type dude. He's up at 6:30, 6. He's calling you at 6:45.
Right.
And he's talking like he's wide awake, going like he already got a coffee and shit. Like that's how he used to sound. It was incredible. So he calls me. And I'm like, what's up, Eric? He's like, man, fuck that. I'm on the way to 92.3 to beat. I'm gonna cuss these motherfuckers out, man. These motherfuckers trying to go behind my back. Shit. Fuck they think they do. I'm like, whoa. Hold on, bro. I already worked it out with him. We already talked to him. We're all good. We're starting July 4th. If you go up there and do this, man, you're gonna fuck the whole thing up, dude. We're good, bro. They know they ain't going behind your back. We worked on it. So I think that, well, I know that moment was what made him really tight with me and Tony, because everybody else had kind of left him. People was leaving him because Death Row was bigger, right? He felt like kind of out there. So I think that made him like really close with us because he's like, damn, these motherfuckers roll with me.
Yeah, solid.
Yeah, solid. We stayed, and it was Ruthless Radio Show. It's his shit.
Yeah.
Dude, like, hey, let's call it the da-da-da. No, it's your shit, dog. Let's do it. We're riding with you. And then I went home. I'm the one that put the show together. I formatted the show, and we went from there. And I basically produced the show, and not produced it, but I was like part of the music. And then this guy comes in, and Yella comes in, and then Jesse Collins was a little more pro at the board and everything, so he was helping us kind of maneuver on the air. So we got going. You know what I mean? It was there.
And what was the energy like for the Ruthless Radio Show with Death Row being what it was? And did any of that energy affect the station? Like, what was those stories like?
So what happened was that Eazy never told me not to play Death Row.
Mm.
Right. So I still played it because I did the mixes, you know? And so I was just like, I still play because they were hot, man. I mean, this is the radio game and this is what we're doing. And Eazy understood that. So he never told me, hey man, don't be playing that shit. He got paid off it anyway. He didn't give a fuck. You know,
Right, right.
He was getting paid off those records anyway. It didn't matter. So he didn't care. But Suge Knight didn't like it. And so he came to the radio station and they got really scared at 92.3 The Beat because he showed up personally. He told them to tell Eazy-E not to play none of his music. Man, tell Eazy-E, man, don't be playing none of my music and da 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 da. So then they called us. They was all scared and we wanted this. We were scared. You know, we don't. You know, they were scared. And I understand why because these guys. They're not from LA, so they're regular square people. They're not from LA. On top of that, and you just got this dude that just showed up, and everybody's scared of this guy, right?
Right.
And so Eazy-E was like, man, don't worry about it, man. Fuck him, man. He ain't gonna do shit. And I was like, damn.
That's like a typical LA answer too,
Eazy-E, bro. He didn't care, but they were a little scared. So when I walked outside, Eazy tells me, he says, hey man, I want you to play all Death Row this weekend. I'm like, oh, come on, man. Come on, Eazy. Fuck that. Play all Death Row. I'm like, Eazy, you're gonna start some bullshit, man. And I remember trying to talk him out, and he was not having it. Man, it's gonna get us ratings, man. This is gonna get us ratings, man. Just play all Death Row Ruthless, man. And so I went home, I put a 40-minute all Death Row mix together, and boom. And he never showed it back up. But that was Eazy letting them know, I don't give a fuck what you're talking about. I'll play all your shit. Yeah,
that's crazy. And then did she?
And I was scared leaving that night. Because it was only Tony, Eazy, Yella, the two bodyguards that Eazy had, and myself. And that, you remember, I don't know if you remember the Yucca station, there was only one way in, one way out.
No, I don't remember Yucca
station.
Yeah,
there was only a parking lot that went to a fence, and that fence leads you off to the street. So they could just pull up at that fence and block you right in. You ain't getting out.
That's the thing. But the thing, anywhere in LA is a sleeper cell. They can pull up anywhere. You know what I mean? So it's just like.
So I was ready for that. I was like, uh-oh. And I remember Eazy pushed me from the back. What you scared of? I was like, man, no, man. You know, I was laughing. He's so young, bro. He's like, what you scared of, man? I'm like, no, man. I'm just like, man, watching this fence over here, man, they ain't gonna do nothing. So Eazy always had this whole attitude that they ain't gonna do nothing. Maybe I'll talk about it later in another interview, but there was a reason for that. But he was comfortable with that because I always seen him like that. He was very comfortable. He would roll with me by himself. He didn't care about nobody. Like,
what? I'm going to press you a little bit. What do you think that was a little?
I think that he had. I think that some people maybe had talked to Suge, and he knew that those people were serious business, and he knew not to touch him. And that's why he walked around so comfortable. And, you know, I'll leave it at that level.
Okay.
But because of Jerry and Jerry's connections, and it was just one of those things where Suge could maybe make it look like that out there. And then you got to remember, Eazy-E was loved by Compton Crips. He had the whole Crip car with him too, you know, because he could have got at Suge at any time and got rid of him if he wanted to. But you know, there's a whole other story behind that too, because you know what I mean. That Eazy had his people too. Eazy had a lot of love.
Right. No, he was definitely loved out here.
But that's why he did that. And I was like, damn, Eazy shit. But at that time, I'm not knowing.
You didn't know.
I didn't know that. I'm like,
yeah.
Later I started putting it together. I'm like, oh, no wonder he's so comfortable.
Right.
So, and then you gotta remember that Eazy-E also had the brown side. And he had all these Mexicans that was like with it. So yeah. So it wasn't like he had both sides. He had both sides rolling with him, basically. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it was kind of like that.
And so Ruthless is just like, it's doing this thing, y'all, you know, playing all of this, the West Coast, taking it to the next level. Like, what are some of your favorite?
Well, he's breaking, and then he's breaking Bone Thugs through that, because that's where Thuggish Ruggish Bone came from.
And I remember that because I'm watching. When I first time I heard Thuggish Ruggish, I'm watching on the jukebox, music television, you control. So I was over here like, I never heard nothing like that. I even remember when Sway was doing, is this really hip hop or is it R&B? Is it singing in the whole 9 yards? And so
it was so new, nobody knew what to do with that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
neither did we, because we didn't really understand it like that either. It was so new and different. It was so slow. It was way slower than your regular records, and it was in double time, so nobody was used to that. But he Easy knew what he was doing because he was breaking that record every week. He would play it twice in the show, so he was putting it out there, and then they just took off. There was no looking back. You know what I mean? So he knew what he was doing with that radio show. It was, like I said, he had a method to the madness. He wasn't just doing it for nothing.
and it was and what other artists came up just to hang Ruthless Radio, like some of your favorite moments at?
Oh man, Diggable Planets. I remember I got a picture with them. Um, who else? I remember D'Angelo came one night before anybody knew who he was. We actually played Brown Sugar the first time on Ruthless Radio Show.
No kidding.
Yeah. He came up with somebody from Virgin Records, and we just started chopping it up
That's
with
right.
him. We just
Okay.
sat down and be like, man, play this motherfucker record. That shit sound hard as fuck. Put it on. Yeah, we didn't play that kind of music, but we played it for him. And so we played Brown Sugar, and then Mariama heard it. And the next Monday when she got to work, it was like nonstop.
Yeah.
D'Angelo got on fast.
Wow.
Yeah, she heard that record quick, so she had a really good ear. She was really responsible for that radio station. I give her a lot of credit. She had a very good ear. She heard a lot of records early. She shaped a lot of R&B at that time.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, because like a lot of times we have the hip hop story, but we don't really talk about the other, the R&B side of it, especially out here in LA, where a lot of the R&B records, like yourself, like I remember you playing Jagged Edge Promise. You know what I mean? I remember you playing a lot of that stuff, and so it's a different thing. What, like for you? I remember you. I saw an interview with you about you and Eazy-E at the mall. The first time you saw him, like really, his fame was next level. What was that experience?
It was my birthday. It was October 11th of '94, and he came to my studio. I had my daughter with me. She was probably about 5 at the time, and so he says he's gonna come by, but I'm like, I'm gonna have my daughter. I only got a certain amount of time with her because I gotta take her back home. And he's like, nah, man, I'm about to pull up right now, man. Hold on for me, wait for me. So he ends up pulling up because usually he used to make you wait. He ended up pulling up. And I didn't tell him it was my birthday or nothing, because if I told him that he'd want to go make a whole day out of it, I just know the way he was. And so I said, I don't want to tell him it's my birthday today because I just want to take my daughter to the Disney store. So we go to the Arcadia Mall. And this is about 1 or 2 in the afternoon. And we go in the mall, and it's not a lot of people there. We walk in the mall, and man, we've probably been there not even 5 minutes, man. And these kids just started coming out of everywhere, like, Eazy-E, and the parents are like, who is this? They didn't know who he was. The parents are older, and they were like, but they all wanted his autograph. And even my daughter was like, hey, Dad, who is he? And I was like, damn, he's famous, honey. but Eazy was I always tell people that story. Eazy was such a regular person, that so down to earth, that you would forget that he was famous until you stepped out with him and you realize how fucking famous this guy was. Like how much attention everywhere he went, he got because of the way he looked and his stature. And it was just his whole get up. People just gravitated to him.
Right.
Anywhere we went, anywhere. Doesn't matter. White people, black people, Arab. He had everybody across the board. They knew who Eazy-E was. So everywhere we went, I would have been getting reminded, oh, fuck, I keep forgetting I'm just with Eazy. You know what I mean? I'm with Eazy-E and shit. I'm rolling with Eazy-E. You know what I mean? Like, it'd be crazy because he was just so regular. He was just a friend,
Yeah, that's amazing. Your relationship with him is just unmatched and just a legend in itself. And then Eazy passes. What's that like for you? And tell me about that experience for yourself.
And it was terrible because it came so fast, and we were talking on the phone like from the hospital, and at the time he was at the hospital. Power 106 tried to make a move and come get me to go to Power 106. A lot of people don't know that. Yeah,
Game's ugly.
I don't want to say that they did it because he was in the hospital. They knew. It just happened to be at that time. They happened to come, and it was through the Baker Boys actually. They were like, they wanted me to go over there, and me and Tony, and so we talked about it, but I just couldn't. You know what I mean? But I talked about it with Eazy. I let him know, hey, Eazy, just want to let you know, man, they hollered at me, you know what I mean? And he's like, nah, man, fuck all that, you know what I mean? And I'm like, no, I got you, man. I'm just letting you know what I mean? Because you might hear from somebody. I don't want you to, because he was in a hospital, you know what I mean?
Right,
I'm
right,
not
right.
knowing that this is happening to him. I'm not knowing
So
that
when you're having these conversations, you don't know he's in the
I don't
hospital.
know. No,
Oh,
I don't
okay,
know.
copy that.
That happened about, I want to say about 2 weeks later, 2.5 weeks later, maybe 3 weeks. That let me say 2.5 weeks, maybe 2 weeks. I talked to him and he sounded down. And because I knew him, like I used to hang with him all the time, you know what I mean? I knew how he was, but I never heard him like be down. And he told me at the time to do what I needed to do. And I didn't understand why he was telling me this, but he was telling me in a way, you know, it's on you now. You know, you taking over. Basically, the whole thing. You ruthless radio, that's you. Basically, in a way. I didn't understand that though. Like, what you mean, man? Oh, come on, man. Yeah, man. I think we're just some bullshit and we're just bullshitting. He's just saying things. Maybe he's on some medication. I'm thinking maybe he's on some medication. I don't, I'm not making much of it, but you know, he was telling me, do what you gotta do, man. And so later on, I come to find out after he passed, when I talked to his wife, that she was there. And at that point, they already had told him that he had AIDS. And so that's why I say there's a difference between our earlier conversations of the first 2 weeks and then that conversation. It was just he just sounded so different, and I think that man might have been my last conversation with
Mm.
him. Yeah.
And for you, how did that change the way you moved in the business, or how did his death impact you as not just as a professional but just as a person?
Well, because what happened is that I lost like a friend.
Right.
That's exactly what it was. It wasn't about professional.
Right.
I actually became such good friends with Eric, and he was just part of. I mean, Eric was at our studio all the time. Eric was eating at our house. He was part of the family. Like when they would cook, we'd cook for Eazy too. You know what I mean? Like he was like almost like part of the family, bro. Like,
right.
Because Tony's mom and his sister, they would all cook up, and they're Cuban, you know what I mean? So hey, you got to play for you. You got to play, you know what I mean?
Right,
hey,
right,
here's
right.
yours. And he was part of our get down, you know what I mean? So he became a friend with us, And so it was just very difficult. And it happens because it happened so fast. We didn't know what to make of it. We were like, what just happened? Like, he had just got us a record deal before he came back from New York and told me he was not feeling good. So he had just told us, you're good now. The budgets are there. So me and Tony are like, oh my God. Oh, thank you, Eazy. Oh, we're about, our lives are about to change. So imagine that just got halted immediately. Like from one moment to the next, it's gone. And we were so excited, bro. It was crazy, but it wasn't the losing of the deal. It was like, man, what happened to our friend, bro?
Mm.
Like, what happened to Eric, man? Like, it just happened so fast. I believe that there's some foul play.
In what sense?
I just don't believe he died from AIDS like that.
Mm.
I believe he died from AIDS, but I believe that he got that and contracted that from something that was not just some regular something. I believe somebody is behind that.
So he was
That's just my view of it. You know what I mean? I'll talk about it a little bit today because I for many years I never wanted to say things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to be clear. I don't believe it's Jerry Heller either, because a lot of people always assume immediately that it was Jerry behind it or Jerry had something to do with it. I don't believe that it was something of Jerry Heller. I just believe that there was people that wanted Eazy's label. There was people that just wanted to get him out the way.
Mm.
And he might have just got caught up in not really understanding his surroundings of who was around him. You know what I mean? I'll leave it at that. Yeah.
And when you were at the radio station, was that type of energy? Did it feel like that type of energy was around?
No, but I just know that he told me one day in one of our car rides, he told me how they wanted to buy his label for like $80 million.
Mm.
And I'm like, man, you ain't gonna sell that? He's like, nah, man, I ain't selling that shit, man. I want to keep my label for my kids. That's what he told me. He wanted to leave his label to his kids one day. So $80 million was nothing to him. Like,
right.
Because I was like, dang, I was young, I was like, yeah, Eazy, you should sell it and just start another label.
Right.
But he was like, nah, because he understood what I didn't understand, which was the catalog and the music, and look where the music is today, what it's looked like. You know what I mean? So he was right. He was absolutely right. But that's why I say there was, like anybody else, Michael Jackson or anybody else, people come after your catalog and come after you too sometimes. So
yeah, that's the thing that's so crazy, because it makes it, the way they want you to think is like it's some conspiracy thing. But when you look at the thing with, even Michael with Marvel, and then you see Whitney, you see all these people that have like ownership of things, and then all of a sudden, okay, now they strangely just disappear. Like,
I mean, it's great. I mean, the music business is a crazy business, man. It's just like, it's not for everybody. It's not really like my cup of tea either. You know what I mean? So that's why I'm kind of like always, I have a weird relationship with the music business because of that. I be one foot in, one foot out sometimes, because it could get ugly.
yeah,
It changes you. It could change you. It could turn you into a different person real quick. You get involved in that whole circle of it, absorbs you, and it can change you as a person.
That's crazy. And I mean, that explains a lot, because when I look at your career too, it's just like, especially out here now, it's a different energy out here. You know what I mean? Like, you got the street shit and you got the corporate shit, and sometimes the corporate shit is just as ugly as the street shit. And then you got the police shit in, but like and then you got like, it's all married to one another.
And the
But you don't know.
jealousy, and you got the jealousy, and then the
Mhm.
people that you think are your friends, but they're really not. And it's just, it's like it wakes you up to shit sometimes. It's like, oh shit, this shit is real as fuck. You know what I mean? Like,
It's a movie.
yeah, everything is, you don't know who's who and what people's real motives are, why they're hanging out with you, and then the music business attracts you to all different street people. They all want to be around the music business. You understand what I'm saying? Everybody wants to be an artist, so they want to know the DJ. And you know what I mean? So you got to know how to maneuver through that in LA. I don't know in today's day, because I'm not in it that thick, because I don't do West Side Radio like that. But in the 90s, it was a lot to maneuver through. I can imagine today it's a lot.
Yeah. I was a fly on the wall, and I felt like that, just because it was just like, and I want to kind of go back to, like, after Ruthless ended, but it was just like the street shit and the music stuff was so, like, everybody rep their hood and all this. So you would, like, and in LA at that time, it was gang, like, it was, where you from? Hey, homie, what time is it, real quick? Like, I'm a square cat. But I just knew that the street, even if you dealt with a female or whatever, if they brother or sister is affiliated, you can get caught up in some shit. Like, that's the energy of LA. You never know who you're dealing with. Even if somebody's square, you don't know who their cousin is. And so I can only imagine it's times 10 when you in the business. So Ruthless so at that point, you're at the beat, right? And the radio show, Easy passes, it's the Ruthless radio show. What do you then decide to do at that point?
Well,
92.3 the beat.
What happens is that we end up going to the hospital trying to see Eazy before he passes away. Because we find out that he's gonna pass away by me calling Ruthless Records. Somebody there tells me that. So I go pick up Tony, we go to Cedar Sinai. We weren't able to talk to him or even see him, which is kind of fucked up. Because we weren't able to thank him, you know what I mean? And give him our love, you know what I mean? But we were there, and then we were trying to just be there for his wife, because we had somewhat of a relationship with her, because we would see her from time to time, you know what I mean? And so there were some things that were said on the radio about Eazy on 92.3 The Beat. I don't remember what it was behind or what it was about. But people start going on there talking stupid, dumb shit, what they think's happening. You know what I mean?
Was it the jocks or the?
No, somebody like that called in, and she didn't like that they allowed that to be said. There was just some information that didn't, just some bullshit, really. I don't remember exactly what it was behind, but she wasn't happy about that. And so when I talked to her at the hospital, she was like, she wanted to take the show off the air. That the Ruthless Radio show was over. So now we could have continued, and I would have continued it if that's what she wanted to do. Cool. We want to continue the Ruthless Radio show in memory of Eazy, we could do that. But she was the one that said, I just want it off the air. And so I said, no problem. And so I walked outside in the hallway and called them and told them show's over. Just like that. And so that was it. But 92.3 the beat called me back and they were like, we want to talk to you and shit. And so when I went to talk to them, they were like, we want you, we don't want you to leave. You know, if you want to cut the Ruthless Radio show, that's fine, but we don't want you to leave. So that's where I turned it into the Mixmaster show in '95. That's when I started to host and DJ the show. So I became the show. You know, I just started to do it. Tony would help me from time to time, but it was really myself, my friend Zenobia, and one or two other people that would help me out here and there. But it was pretty much me and her kind of doing the show. And that's how that happened. Because she, I would have continued with Ruthless Radio show, and that would have turned into the West Side Radio. I would have had to call West Side Radio.
Right.
Friday nights, Ruthless Radio show. I would have done that. I had no problem. I just think it was a lot going on with Tamika at the time, and it was a lot of, everything had just fell on her. So I just think she just wanted to just cut things, which is cool. It's understandable. But that's where I turned it into, let me call it the Mixmaster show, because it goes back to 1580 K-Day, and they knew us for that, me and Tony.
Got you. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, that's why I called it. Because I was looking for a host. I didn't want to host it. I just wanted a DJ.
Right.
I couldn't find nobody that I thought could do it. So then that's when I just like, you have to do it yourself. I would run and do the talking and run behind the board and go DJ and then come back. And so I had to do that for like 6-7 months. It was crazy. Yeah.
And so you're doing it, and then this is Saturday night. Saturday night in LA.
6 to 9, yeah.
And how long does the Mixmaster?
I did that for like the rest of '95. And that's when in '96 they asked me with me and Sway to do that whole thing about coming on, and that's when I started in '96.
Got you.
Full time, you know what I mean? But I ran that whole '95, just me doing Saturday nights. And sometimes doing their commercials, you know what I mean? Sometimes doing talking for their commercials, because they wanted me to say 92.3 and all that, you know what I mean? So, that's how they were doing their thing to get the Hispanics.
Got you. Yeah, so. And do you think that was some pandering shit, or or were you like, all right, I'm doing it? Or
actually, Eazy-E is the one that told me to do it.
Okay.
Yeah, we're recording a commercial for the Ruthless Radio show, and he wanted me to talk at the end of it. He's like, man, I want you to talk, man. And I'm like, man, I don't want to get on here and talk. Come on, man. Like, come on, man, do that shit, man. So I remember doing the shit. It took me a gang of takes, because I wasn't really used to doing that. You know what I mean? I was just a DJ and producer. I wasn't on the mic and shit. And so I do it, and then he says, man, how you saying 92.3 to be in Spanish, man? Say that shit at the end. And I remember telling him, easy, man, because he could hear me from the vocal booth. He was sitting right on this side, and he can hear me, but I couldn't see each other. I'm like, easy, come on, man. They're gonna laugh at us now, bro. Come on. He's like, nah, man, that's how you gonna get the Latinos, man. Trust me. So he always thought like that.
Right.
So I did it. And then this was funny. I did it. We played the commercial, and then they called me from the station and say, hey, can you come down and cut some commercials and say that thing in Spanish at the end again? So I'm like, oh, okay. So I went over there and I cut like 3 commercials. And then Eazy heard one, and he called me. He's like, hey, man, did they pay you for that?
They pay you for that?
No, they didn't. No, hell no, you can't be doing that shit, man. They gotta pay you, man. Eazy was even on that game. Like,
right. No, it makes sense, because it's just
like, game. He's letting me know, hey, bro, what you doing right there? You giving them, nah, they gotta pay you for that. So I learned that from Eazy. Eazy was on top of me about shit like that.
That's crazy.
He's the one that told me to say 92.3 originally.
No shit.
Yeah, that was his idea. And that's why, and then from there, I just started continuing to use it, because that's what got the Hispanics to go from Power 106 to 92.3 to B, because all I needed to do was take 30% of their Hispanics. That was the deal for my first year.
And did they tell you that specifically, or did you just kind of gauge that?
No, they told me specifically. Craig Wilbraham told me.
Craig Wilbraham.
Yeah, he said, rest in peace also. He said, Julio G, if you can give me 30% of Power 106's listeners, I'll sign you for 2 more years next time. I'm like, oh, okay. And then so Jerry Heller used to negotiate my deals, all my music deals and my radio deals.
No shit.
A lot of people don't know that.
Hell no.
That's why I always made good money in the radio game, was because of my representation.
Mm.
There was one at one point I was making. At one point, Jerry Heller tells me that I was making 3 times more than the guy at Power 106 at night.
Wow.
3 times more than him at one point. So, you know what I mean? So he was just a great negotiator. And Craig Wilbraham too. I got to give it to him because he was a man of his word. He backed up his words, bro. That's one thing I always salute that guy. He paid me. What he said he was gonna do, he paid it. And the bonuses too, because that's what Jerry did. He says, okay. He said, okay, at first they offered me $50,000. And I told them I wanted 100. They're like, but you never been on the radio like that. Like, you know, what the fuck? Right. And so I'm like, man, so I wasn't doing it. I wanted 100. I don't know why I said that, but this is before Jerry got involved. So then I said, look, man, you got to talk to Jerry. So Jerry got them to 87.5. And then if I got him the 30%, that they give me the 2-year contract. And then he said he put these things in the numbers where if I got to a certain number, they would give me $10,000. Now those numbers looked a little crazy, but Jerry was a smart guy. That's what I'm saying about you need the negotiator person. So he knew, like, I'm just, and he told me after, he goes, hey man, try to get your shit popping because I got them 10,000s in there. If you can get it to this and this, you can get that money. There's like 30,000 there for you extra that you get in this year, right? So I'm like, okay, ooh. That kind of got me to thinking about the ratings a lot. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it ended up happening. I ended up hitting the mark. So I did 2 out of the 3. So I got an extra 20,000 in that year. You know what I mean? So 87, 97 came out to 107 for that first year.
That's crazy.
Yeah. That's because of Jerry Heller, rest in peace.
And kudos for you too, because you were able to do it without it sounding like you were trying to do it. You know what I mean? Because that's a hard thing to do. Because if you're thirsty,
we went number 1 in the first 6 months that I got on. Now, not saying that, oh, I'm the reason. Okay, I don't want to say it like, oh, I took them to number 1 in that way. The way I want to explain it to people is that what I brought, you know, Theo had a lot. Diana Steele had a lot. You know, John Lennon House Party had a lot. They just needed that last little, to get it over. And I brought that little piece. And that was the Hispanics. And that's why Craig knew. That they knew, you know. And I remember I came home to work that day, they were all popping bottles in the middle of the hallway. They were fucking happy. They went number 1. They beat Power 106. Something that nobody ever thought could happen.
And that's the thing too. And I think it's more than you just bring the Hispanics. I think it's at least for me as a brother out here in LA, it was just you had somebody that was actually involved with the music on some real shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, but let me tell you, you're absolutely right. Let me say it the correct way.
Okay.
Now the blacks I had already, because I had high numbers with them. Like my approval rating with the black community was very high at the beat. So they were like, for them, it was like, fuck, we found a guy, he's like Theo. The black people like him, right?
Right.
Now, if you could just give me 30 of this, that's what I mean by it. I tipped it over just, you know, it's not, I just needed the Hispanics. It's just that I was lucky that the black people didn't have to fuck with me. They didn't, but see, a lot of them came from growing up with me at 1580 K-Day. So I kind of had a built-in audience of black listeners that knew me. Oh, Julio G, yeah, World on Wheels, Skateland USA, yeah, but whoop dance. I was in high school with a motherfucker, you know, now they're 25. So it's kind of, I already had somewhat of an audience in that. But then I just really, because I also cater to the black community. Like, you know, I use the platform to help them a lot, you know what I mean? Nation of Islam got on the radio because of me. I used to put them on and let them talk.
Right.
I did a lot of stuff in the community with the black community and the jails and this. So I was out there with the guys on the street, the guys in the gang dudes that were trying to squash the beefs. And I did a lot of stuff with the community, with the black community. So I used the platform also for them to get some, I understand. You know what I mean? It was like, hey, these things need to be, a light need to be put on it. I'm gonna do it. You know what I mean? I'm gonna do that. You know what I mean? So that's why I was able to balance that. That's what they needed. And like I said, it took it to number 1. And that was the big story. You know what I mean? We did it.
You definitely did it. And so going back to the 92.3, the beat days of just Julio G, that's kind of like where I jumped on board, you know what I mean? The 2000s and you know what I mean? Like I graduated 97, 98. So for you, tell me about that, like being in between the Theos and the Diana Steels, and then now you're Julio G, DJ Mello. Like this is you as a jock. You're still a producer, you're still a mixer, but now you're officially a jock. It's almost like when sports people like, I'm not in media, I'm in sports. If you on every single day, you're a media person now. So what's that experience like at the beat at the peak?
It was a lot of work. It was like every day. I didn't take vacations. Like when I had that 7-day vacation, I actually worked on the show. And at the time, my girlfriend, we lived together. She was the one that used to like get on me about that. It's like, hey, dude, like you be doing too much. Like you need to stop. You need to have a good time. Like you need to let's go to Santa Barbara. At least give me 4 days. She would like hit me with that. Can you give me like 3 to 4 days? Let's try like Thursday through Sunday. Try to get your stuff done Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. You know what I mean? And so I would, and that's what that was doing the radio drops. Because I would always want to come with a new radio drop when I came back. So that was kind of my thing of getting the studio, getting the producer, or getting Fred Wreck to find somebody and how we gonna piece this together. That don't just come out overnight because we didn't have the internet to just, I had to drive to your house to record the vocal. I had to go to it was a lot going on. So just that and doing new voice drops and doing this, I had to kind of revamp the show every time I went on vacation. That was my thing to do. That's what I mean. It took a lot of time and work. And then I had a daughter on the weekends. I had to give her time on Sundays. And then Saturdays, I'm trying to edit songs and listen to this and breaking a new record. And you had to stay on top of this. And then, it was just nonstop. It was crazy.
Yeah, and you had some of the most legendary drops. Now, before, when you did the drops, was it because Theo was doing drops too before? He had some of the legendary DJ Quick ones and all that. Did you want to do that because you heard what Theo was doing, or was like, okay,
Theo had those drops, but we used to do stuff like that on 1580 K-Day too.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't like it was new to me in that way. I mean, I think he popularized it for that era. I don't think nobody else was doing it in that era, but in the 80s we used to do that.
Okay.
So we used to have rappers rap over beats, stuff like that, do as an intro, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it was just his are really at that moment FM in the 90s, 92.3 the beat, 50,000 watts, you know what I mean? He had it at that time. When I came with it, it was because, somewhat of what he was doing, but my twist to it, you know what I mean? And the artists that I'm fucking with, you know what I mean? So I remember when Dub C and Crazy Tunes brought me the West Side Radio intro, the first real one. And it was just so fucking banging. It was so fucking banging that everybody was like, I played it in the studio. They were like, oh shit.
Yeah.
That's your intro? Like, yeah. And I was like, I just knew it was on then. I was like, oh man, this intro is, I love Crazy Tunes. Rest in peace, man. I appreciate my brother so much for that one moment that he gave me that really helped me to, like this dude got some shit too. You know what I mean? Because like I said, I wasn't trying to compare myself to Theo or being Theo in any way. I wanted to do what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And so I had to separate myself in that way. You know what I mean? And those certain drops were just, they were just their own thing too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're definitely bangers. You have bangers and
bangers.
And tell me about, because at that point I'm a little bit like I'm beginning to, like I'm street team and all that. So now I'm a fly on the wall. I'm watching you as just as someone there. So tell me about like your relationship with Snoop at the radio station. How'd you get with Dog?
Snoop, I don't remember exactly why he came on, but he reached out to me through somebody and said he was coming through, or somebody set it up somehow. But I never thought I could talk to Snoop because of Eazy. You know what I mean? But I played a lot of his music, of course. I was a big Snoop fan, but I didn't think that he would come on. And I think he was just vibing to me the same thing. He just felt something like, this motherfucker's hard.
Yeah.
This is Lynwood, this motherfucker's playing some shit, you know what I mean? because when I came in, what a lot of people don't know is that I brought back shit. Like I brought back Above the Law. Like
Yeah.
brought
Black
back
Superman and all that. Yeah.
ESOP
Mm-hmm.
and California and you know, their early 90s, I mean their 90s early shit,
Mm-hmm.
like Hustlers and all that. And then I'm also now bringing MC8 back in a way. Like but I'm just kind of I'm playing these records where I'm reminding people of, you know, these are these classics that these dudes have. So they're starting to get a look in LA. And that's kind of what I did that was different. It was that I started to bring these records back, and some I'm breaking at the time that were West Coast, and they weren't getting that. That's why I think Snoop heard that. I remember Snoop told me a story. He had dropped Dogfather, excuse me. He had dropped Dogfather. And not everybody was all so hyped about it because Dre was not involved. I don't know if you remember that time.
Yeah, I remember that.
But it wasn't like everybody, they were like, okay, DJ Pooh did it, you know what I mean? Okay. And so I remember I cleaned up Jumps the Boogie. And I remember I banged it on West Side Radio like 3 times in like 30 minutes. But I was talking about it like, oh, I gotta play this shit again. This is so hard, Snoop. But in a way, I was trying to help him
pump the record.
Because I was good at doing that. That was part of the whole thing. I wanted to pump him up. And so he was on the freeway, he said, told me the story one day. He goes, man, cause I was on the freeway, and man, the way you went into that motherfucker sounded so hard, dog. Like it gave me inspiration. Like it got me out of that whole rut. I'm like, man, I'm tripping. This shit sound hard. And so that's why I've always had a good relationship with him. You know what I mean? Me and him go back, and he understands that I played a lot of him and the Dog Pound and anybody around him. I'm giving all them radio play.
A lot. And for me, I even remember, like, you know, Corrupt being in the studio with you or whatever. I was like a little kid. But I just, holy shit, you know what I mean? I taking the 217 down Fairway, and then I come upstairs from some Street Chief shit, and I remember one night I saw Corrupt in the studio, and I remember Foxy Brown being downstairs trying to get up.
Yeah.
That night was kind of insane.
Crazy.
Yeah. And
they had the issues going on.
Yeah. And so I was just like, what's going on? And she was trying to get but yeah, they were you guys.
That's how I started the relationship with Snoop early, was that he came on the show, and then we smoked. So
yeah,
the weed thing also too, because anytime I've always seen Snoop, I always smoke him out.
Mm-hmm.
And he's always known that about me. Like I don't think there's no other radio DJ that could walk up on him and smoke him out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, I've always smoked like that since back then. So that was another reason why we had a good relationship too, was through the weed too. So
and that's the thing that's so dope too, because it was just like, for me, you know, just as a fan, and I'm just like, okay, I see a lot of these radio jocks, and I can tell like a lot of the artists don't fuck with them. You know what I mean? You can tell it's a very transactional relationship with a lot of these jocks, because I saw how the artists rocked with you. I'm like, they fuck with Julio.
Yeah.
Julio's that's their nigga, like for real. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because they're hearing it like I'm their voice. I mean, if I wouldn't have got on the radio, what would have happened to the West Coast in the 90s? It would have got what play? Like somewhat? It wasn't gonna get that. A lot of that shit came because the way I pumped the shit. And it had to. I made the other radio station have to fuck with your record. You know what I mean? Because they had no choice. I'm banging this motherfucker. So you're coming with me. Or if not, you're getting left out, because the artists are all starting to come my way. You understand what I'm saying? And that's part of what the whole game is about. It's about competition. You know, to me, I always tell people, there's too many friendly people. You're too friendly. This ain't a friendly game. This is my radio station. We're gonna kill your radio station.
Real talk.
That's all it's about. I come from the battle world of breakdancing. That's where I say that. I come from that. That's the only thing I know. It's only to destroy you. And we can be friends later. I don't care, but at the moment, we gotta go. But that's what makes hip hop dope. When you hear hip hop today and people don't like it, it's because there's nothing making it competitive anymore. Nothing. You know, nobody's stepping up their game to nothing. Everybody just wants to get paid.
Right.
Nobody's stepping the game up though in that way. So it doesn't make it super competitive. So it doesn't make for better art. You know?
Yeah, and that's kind of lost. Well, and for you, like, even just, you know, you just bringing a lot of artists to the table. Just going back a little, like, what was your relationship with Tupac? Did you ever have any Tupac?
I seen a Tupac at Echo Sound one day when he was doing I Get Around. And I was recording something for Mellow and Ace, I think. Or I know maybe I was doing a remix. I was in another room. We just had a slight conversation at that time. And then he ran up on my I believe it was a Soul Train Awards where he's on the fatigues.
Right.
With the fatigues on.
I remember that.
He ran up and he wanted to get the mic. Man, I wish I had that recording. He grabbed the mic and he's like, man, I just want to let everybody know in LA, man, Biggie and them ran. Because I guess they jumped out on him over there. Saying on the air. I'll let y'all know, man, Biggie and them ran. They ran from us, just so you know. And he was serious. And that was kind of real quick. I didn't really even get to talk to him that time. So I didn't have like a, oh, I talk to the guy all the time relationship with him, you know what I mean? But he ended up doing some West Side Radio drops for me before he passed away.
Got you.
You know what I mean? Some talk drops. So I'm a fan of West Side Radio because I played him too.
Right.
My friend Johnny J produced him. My friend Johnny, I've known before Tupac. I knew Johnny from the 90s with Candyman. So I've always been a fan of Johnny J, rest in peace. So that was another reason why I fuck with Tupac tough, was because of Johnny.
Got you.
Little relationship there, you know what I mean? And I love Tupac. I thought he was great. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Tupac. And so, and for you, and what was that situation for you, like the whole Biggie Pac situation, and because there's this whole untold story of just how radio plays such a significant part in all these situations. What was that like for you, being Julio G, West Side Radio, when, you know, because I even saw in your Instagram, you know, the interview with you and Biggie. What was that whole vibe like?
Well, so it's one of those things that, like, I don't want to feel bad about it, but I think because I'm older now and I look back, I had something to do with it too, you know. I was West Side Radio and I was banging the records. So, you know, the thing behind it was that I was with the West Coast and I'm going to support the West Coast. Nobody else was doing it though. So it was basically me. When you heard Hit 'Em Up, you heard it through West Side Radio. And when I played it like 7 times in a row. So I was letting them know too, you know what I mean? Like in that way. So I feel bad about that though, because that turned into a whole bunch of other stuff, you know what I mean? I just think that I was in that moment and, you know, we was banging West Coast.
Right.
And I feel bad about that in a way, because I don't know if I would have did it different, but I don't know. The thing about it was that on West Side Radio, I didn't play diss records towards other West Coast artists. I never did that. So I never played Dre Day. I never played Dollars and Cents. I never played like those records when they shit talked on each other. Because my thing on West Side Radio was always trying to get them all to fuck with each other.
Got you.
Right? So that was kind of what I wanted to do. And I was doing that because a lot of the things I squashed a lot of beefs in between West Side Radio, because everybody was popping on the radio. They were starting to feel good. And like everybody felt like they had a little bit of, oh shit, Friday night, we might get on. And
yeah.
Even my old shit, it sound good, dog, you know, Friday night. You know what I mean? So there was a lot of that going on. But when it came to the East Coast shit, I wasn't really tripping off that. So if it was calling out names came through me. Yeah, a lot of people don't know that story. I started calling out names.
What happened?
Okay, so Calling Out Names was produced by Fred Reck. And at the time, I was working on a West Side Radio album. And so Corrupt used to be at Fred Reck's house. And at the time, I lived maybe like 3 minutes from Fred's house. So I would pop up on him all the time. And so Corrupt used to be over there with Hump, and then he'd be over there with Lil Draw's Big U's little brother. And then we just be out there over there, right? So one day we was there and I'm like, Corrupt, man, I need a song for my album. Man, please, man, Fred, come on, man. And so I got them to start on this record. I had this weed, we were smoking, it's during the day. And so Fred started to work on the beat, and then Corrupt says, man, I just want to get something off my chest. You cool with that? You cool? I'm like, yeah, I don't give a fuck. Just for someone you rapping on the motherfucker. I don't give a fuck if it's 16 bars, man. Just, I just need something for my album, man.
Right.
Because we're friends, you know what I mean? He's my guy. And so as he's working on the beat, Corrupt is writing it, cool. Now I got to be on the radio at 6:00. So I leave, and man, I remember that night I was so high when I got to the radio station. And I remember like, oh my God, I am so fucking high. But I've always had a high tolerance, luckily for me, And I get on the air. They call me about 7.
When you say they, who's that?
Fred Rec and Corrupt.
Got you.
Fred Rec called me.
Okay.
And at the time on the radio, I used to always have the thing recording. I always had the Box Pro.
Box Pro, yeah.
I always had it recording. That's one thing that I always did, because whatever, I just recorded everything in there. And so it was just recording when I took the call. Hotline, Batline, Batman speaking, I used to say.
Yeah.
The Batline, Batman speaking. So the conversation starts, Fred's like, oh man, Corrupt went nuts on your shit, dog. Wait till you hear this shit. And I'm like, man, play it for me. So he plays it for me, the first verse. And so he's just going. It's the first verse. And it didn't even have the scratches in it in the hook. I went later and I did the scratches for that record. That's me scratching on that record.
Shit.
Yeah. So I did that later. He didn't even have that in the hook. That's why he was calling me to ask me, come up with something for the hook. I need a scratch part. Because I used to help Fred with little things like that.
Right.
So that's how that happened. But now I get this whole phone call, right? We get off. So I edit the phone call down. Now I'm editing the curse words in the phone call of the song. So I edited the whole fucking song. So now I play it back on the air. And mind you, the whole LA just fucking stops, because it's like you're hearing it over the phone.
Wow.
I'm playing it on the air as like me and you were
right.
On the phone. That's what made me different in radio.
Yeah.
Don't understand.
It was crazy.
I would do shit like that. So I caught that moment and I let you peek in. And man, when I tell you, dog, that shit started a motherfucking storm of calls. Just me playing it one time. And then that was the night that I knew that people were listening to me, and it was serious.
Wow.
I said, hey man, you got a lot of power, bro. They are listening to you. They're calling from New York. Somebody, this is before internet. This ain't like, no, this is somebody heard and had to call somebody and go, hey, yo, B, he's getting at you, DMX. Now Irv Gotti's calling, this dude's calling, Snoop's calling there. And I'm like, hey, sorry about that, man. It's a song from my album. I'm glad you love it this much, because it's gonna be on my album.
Damn.
So what happens is that the record caught so much attention just on the word of mouth that Corrupt's like, Julio G, man, I need that for my album. I'm like, man, Corrupt, you that's you, man. It's your song. You know what I mean? So I went and did the scratching for him, and then that became a song for his album. I didn't end up using it for my record. I just told him, just make me another song. But I knew what it meant to him, and I needed it. So I wasn't gonna hog that and no, hell no, Corrupt, this mine. Yeah. Like, no, man, it's your shit, man. It ain't tripping, man. Come on. So that's how that came about, calling out names, and that caused a lot of ruckus. You know what I mean? So it was a lot. I had some moments,
Yeah, more than moments. And for you, it's just like I said, like that I don't think the energy of the West Coast will ever be like that, those moments. And for you, even like you said you were even out here squashing beefs. Like, who were some of the beefs that you were squashing in terms of just...
I remember I was working with MC8. Shout out to MC8, because I just seen him the other day. I love that bro. That's my bro right there, man. I fuck with him heavy since Compton's Most Wanted in the 80s. Yeah. So 8 was I was recording with Fred Rec. We did a song for MC8's album on his Section 8 album. It's called Automatic. And we ended up recording like 3 or 4 songs with him. But those, I think the other beats were Fred's. I think I just helped him with this one song. And so we were in the studio, and I just started talking to 8, and I'm like, hey man, I'm gonna have Quick on the show on Friday. And I basically just came to him like, look, man, I'm not telling you what to do, bro. And I know your beef is deeper than some rap songs because their beef was like a deep street beef. Their beef is a little bit different. Their beef is a little bit different than your average rapper's rapping beef, right?
Right,
Their
right,
beef was very entangled in the Compton streets. And I tell you this because I have friends from MC8's neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
I have friends that are from Quick's
Quick.
neighborhood,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't fuck with each other, dog. You know what I mean? So I've known that. You know what I mean? So I knew that that beef was just a little bit more than just some records. You know, so I just talked to hey, look, man, trying to get the West Coast together, bro. I need us to get together. They need to start seeing that we need to let these things go. We need to move on. We need to make something happen, and we need to we need to show something. We need to do that. We're hot right now because we were. You know, shit. Snoop had just dropped. This was out. I'm rocking this. I mean, it was just we was fucking killing it at the time.
Yeah, yeah.
So West Side Radio Friday night, you know. So man, it took 8 a little bit of time. I mean, he thought about it, and I said, "Come on, man, just call in, man. Let's just squash that shit, man. You don't have to be like homeboys and shit. Just let's just squash it, man. The people gonna love that shit, man. We need that for the kids." And so whatever. Same thing goes to Quick. He didn't know, and I tell him, "Hey, I need to holler at you, man. Hey, listen, when you come on Friday, man, I'm gonna have him call in, man, and he's cool with squashing it." And so, and Quick was cool about it. He was like, "With you, dog, whatever." You know, he wasn't really he didn't have much to say about it, but
Right.
when it happened, it was real quick over the phone on West Side Radio. Basically, 8 got on. "Hey, what's up? 8, Quick here, man. Quick, hey, what's up, man? What's up, man?" And you know, I just kind of started off, "Hey, we just here to see if we can squash this, man." And they just basically squashed it. It wasn't like they had a lot of words for each other either,
Right.
but they kind of were public about. I think Quick was on another space at the time too. I think he was trying to get out of that
That's
gang thing, you know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
Everybody was starting to mature, man. We needed to move on and we needed to become. And I'm glad to see them together now, man. It's really cool to see them together. Like
That's
it
dope.
seems like they're cool with each other like that, you know. So
And
that's
and that's the thing too, because it's just like that's the type of shit that people don't realize. That type of shit saves lives out here, you
yeah,
know.
for
It
sure.
really does, and it's
Yeah,
just like
bro.
people don't realize that, you know. It's like, oh, it's just a little. LA's a different energy, you know what I mean? And so cats out here, when they say like, oh, I don't fuck with you like that, or I don't fuck with him because he doesn't fuck with him, like all that shit adds up, you know what I mean? It's like a snowball effect. So by you squashing it, it really does stop shit from actually happening on the street level.
And they made some good records together, you know what I mean? That's why
Yeah,
I wish a lot of the guys back then would have been able to squash more things and get more people to do records together. I just think we missed out in the 90s. We could have done a lot more with the West Coast. It's just too many people were separated. That's what I don't like about the era today. It's like it's too much gang banging in the music, so it just separates everybody. So it doesn't make for good music.
yeah,
It
and I
makes for little moments here and there, but it doesn't
right.
make for like a everybody moment. It ain't the West. You know, we need the West Coast to be all together, and that's where it thrives, I believe. You know, in the art.
Absolutely.
You know what I
And
mean?
they do it a little bit in the Bay. I think the Bay has probably the most camaraderie,
Yeah,
but LA is a little different out
yeah, it's a little
here.
different nowadays. You know.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I did that one, and then Corrupt and Daz when they had their beef, I helped to kind of work that one out too with them, and because I'm friends with both of them really good.
what
So
was I didn't know what was Corrupt and Daz's beef. I didn't
they
even know
had,
that.
because I think because Corrupt had went back with Death Row,
Okay, copy
he
that.
did one album with them, and they were having their little issue, and then they came back and did Kelly as Active and never looked back. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
and
but they
that's
were they were good friends, and I'm good friends with both of them. You know what I mean? So that wasn't too hard.
and what's your and Exhibit? Tell me about you bringing Exhibit to the scene and all that.
Exhibit was Exhibit. I liked him from the beginning when I first heard Exhibit, and then like I just played a lot of his music, like from the beginning. Like I was really heavy on 40 Days, 40 Nights, that album. And so me playing a lot of him and then all his features, because I was playing the one with him and Hutch from Above the Law. I
Mm-hmm.
was playing the one with him and Socrates on the 9 o'clock bomb. I was playing like just features with him too. You know what I mean? Because he was, and that's where Snoop started to hear about it like that That's why he ended up on Beat Please. Because to me, I mean, I had him out there like that. He was hot, bro. You know what I mean? Everybody's when you're when you're playing records on the radio 5 days a week, 6 days a week, and you're playing a person during the whole week, it gets people's attention.
Absolutely.
It does, bro. Especially because they're listening to me and they know what I do. So if I'm saying that this dude's the shit, it's because this is the new shit. And that's where kind of Exhibit came from. So, and he gave me one of my early drops too with him and Joe Quicks that they produced together. That was super hard that they did at Fred Rex house one day. And I used to play that a lot. So that's Exhibit got a lot of radio play with me, but he's still one of my favorite rappers.
He's super dope, and you took him to the next level too. Like, what's some of your? I mean, obviously you broke so many people. Like, let me hear the Beyonce story from your perspective too, because I had to wallow on a couple shows on, and people don't know that you broke the Destiny's Child, and we gotta let them know. Like, Julio needs to be on stage with Beyonce and them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, the Destiny's Child is pretty much story is what Tawala said. It was true. Shelly from Columbia was the one that she had a good relationship with her. Sweet person. And it's really the relationships that you have with the record reps. You know what I mean? And certain people I just had a good relationship with you. You know what I mean? And so she brought me the record and was like, because I think their first record didn't really do much. It wasn't catching on. So they had to go do this remix. And Wyclef, he's a great friend of mine too. I love Wyclef. And he did the remix, and it was just when I heard it, I knew it was a hit from the beginning. I've always just had a good ear for that. Like I'll catch it. Some records I catch in 20 seconds. I just know, oh, that's it. And so I knew when I heard it, I'm like, oh, they got a banger. And so I said, boom, I put it on. And I played it a few times actually. And then after that, the radio station heard it. They just never looked back. It was all Destiny's Child from there.
Yeah.
But I remember one time Sunshine Anderson heard it all before.
Yeah.
My homegirl, Mona, she DJs. She brought the record to me. And I remember Melody put it on for about 20 seconds. And I said, oh, play it. And she was like, oh shit, you gonna play it right now? Play it right now. And I remember, boom, we went hard on that.
Yeah.
No, bring it back. No, play it again. Boom. And I remember I broke that record right there.
That's crazy. Yeah.
I remember I did that at 93.5 K. They got mad at me because I played A. Marie One Thing. I played it like 8 times in a row. They got mad at me. They're like, what are you doing? I'm like, that's a hit record.
Yeah.
They're like, no, but you just no. You don't understand. You have to beat the other radio station by doing something that they would never do. You got a hit record, it's just gonna go. Every time I hear that record, and I just heard it the other day somewhere, I thought to myself, damn, you got a great ear, man.
Yeah.
It's a classic today, right?
Damn right, yeah.
So a lot of the stuff that people call classic today is things that I broke. You know what I mean? So that's why when I listen to songs sometimes today, I'd be tripping. I'm like, damn, I broke that record. I was the first one to play that when nobody believed in that.
What are some other records that you?
I'll tell you a good one that'll fuck you up. So I know a doctor, one of the main doctors here at St. Francis Hospital, because I do some charity work for them from time to time. He's a really cool brother, black doctor there, Dr. Harding Young, real good brother, man. And so he calls me one day, he goes, hey Julio, can you come over here, man? I want you to hear. He's into music. I want you to hear somebody, man. And I'm like, okay, doc. Oh shit, you know, well, you A&R and shit. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I go down there, and he introduced me to this guy, and he pulls out this Marvin Gaye CD, and he says, "Man, this is my Bible right here." I said, all right, cool. He just seemed like out there. He seemed, I don't know how to say, like, it's just something about him. He had something about him. So I tell him, well, meet me at the radio station tonight, and I'll listen to your music. Because he didn't have it on him. They just happened to pop up. His manager's moms was friends with the doctor. That's how he just happened to pop up. They wasn't really there promoting themselves, right? So that's why I said, okay, well, shit, meet me tonight, man. I'll get off at 10 o'clock. So he comes to the beat, and so he plays me at this a double CD or something. He plays me a few songs, but there's one that I right from the beginning, I rewinded, and I had a nice sound system in my truck, and I played it like 3 or 4 times, and I go, hey, that's a hit record. He's like, what? No, you got to hear this other one. I go, I don't need to hear nothing else, bro. That's a hit record. Because to me, it's like you can play me other hit records, but to me, you already have the hit record, so focus on that.
Mm.
If you have other ones, that's great too. But this one right here, this is a hit record. So he's kind of baffled why I'm so into this record. And DJ Melody was right there too, and he was there, so he sees me tell him that. So, but the music is a little different. That it's not 92.3 the beat music, right? So there's a little song in there that we gave him some play on, that Mello found a way that was kind of cool, that kind of worked. We gave him some love, cool. So some years later, he calls me. He gets my number from somebody. He calls me. He goes, hey, man, your ear is golden, man. He goes, I don't know how you knew that about that record, but man, the Roots want to do it. So that song became the Seed 2.0.
Oh, shit.
That guy that sings that song, that's the guy I'm talking about.
No shit.
Yeah. So he told me he was really blown away by how the fuck did I know that
right.
he was the one, but without hearing his whole shit, heard like 4 songs. How did you know that, man?
Right.
He was bugged out on it. And when I seen the record and heard the record, because the original's really good. His version is super good. I like his version, I think, a little bit more. The Roots made it more bigger.
Yeah.
But it's his version is amazing too. But he was tripped out on that, like, you know. And when I heard that record, I was just blown away too. I was like, damn, I got a good fucking ear. You know what I mean? Like, I just felt something about the record and said, boom, that's gonna be a big record. Yeah.
And you've had like so many moments like that, and I mean that's why I'm a fan of what you do. Talk about a lot of the R&B. How about the Brandies, the Monicas, like what was?
I mean, like I you know, I had a few of them. Like I said, the D'Angelo early, and then like Sunshine Anderson. What else? Lucy Pearl. I let them come on and do their whole album on West Side Radio.
No kidding.
I never had nobody R&B. That was the first group that I ever let come on West Side Radio.
No kidding.
Yeah. Lucy Pearl. I mean, there's a lot of songs, man. But I think I'm more, you know, like I said, I have the R&B ones, but I have like a lot of the hip hop. The Down South, Juvenile, I broke Juvenile in LA. Cash Money came through me. Master P, No Limit came through me. I appreciate Master P because he does say in the interviews, if it wasn't for Julio G, I would have never got to LA.
What was the story with that?
Well, Master P, I met through Eazy-E one time. But Master P was at Priority Records, and I knew a girl that worked there. And one day, I was on the phone with her. She was a publicist. And so one day, he was coming through, and she says, hold on one second. She was like, hey, Master P. She tells him something. And I'm like, oh, that's Master P. That's Master P, the rapper? Yeah. I said, man, shit. I don't know what made me say, tell him to come on the show tonight. And so he changed his whole shit. He was flying out. Because Master P used to come to LA and just get his money from Priority and leave because he had no play in LA.
Right.
There was no reason for him to be in LA. It was nothing. Right. Nobody knew what he was doing. Like, some maybe street people maybe knew some of the songs, but it wasn't nothing like that.
Yeah.
And so when he heard, oh, I could be on the radio, he changed his flight and everything. He came on that night. And I remember I took heat for that. The next day, when I took the phone calls the next day, a lot of people was dissing it.
No shit.
Oh, G, why you play that whack shit last night, man? I said, man, that's that down south, man. You got to get used to that shit. But it was something about his hustle that got me.
Yeah.
It wasn't necessarily the music that much. The music, I got it. I liked the Ice Cream Man, you know what I mean? Because it was it was a world-class record crew sample, whatever, you know what I mean? So it was LA, you know what I mean? But it was more him. And just his whole get down, his whole hustle. More attracted to his thing because I had read a story about him somewhere. That's what got me to want to put him on. Because I read somewhere in a magazine, just a story about him in a column, how he started from nothing and came from, you know what I mean? I was like, damn, this dude's dope, man. I gotta fuck with this dude. And that's when she pops up Master P. I'm like, hey, tell him to come to fuck on the show, man. I want to talk to that dude. And so that's where that came from. And then later on, I don't know if you remember my friend Sleep.
Mm-mm.
My friend Sleep, he used to hang around with me at the radio station from time to time.
I probably know about face. Yeah.
Yeah. He introduced me to Baby and Slim over the phone. And we got into an agreement over the phone to help them out. You know what I mean? I had Juvenile Ha, and I had it win on the Battle of the Beach for 2 weeks straight.
No shit.
That's how I broke that record, even though I didn't win every day.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Sometimes I would do that to break records.
Mm.
I would even use the Battle of the Beats because it was a moment that I had some freedom to program.
Right.
The whole key for me as Julio G, why I was successful, it was because I was able to program some of my show. So DJ Melody programmed himself, but I was able to maneuver things in his mix too. Mello, can you do me a favor and play this? Mello, can you do me a favor and play that? And so he would slide certain things in for me to help me out at that spot. Battle of the Beats, if I can have somebody win and help break that record, I'm gonna break it to the Battle of the Beats. And then 9 o'clock bomb, I programmed the 9 o'clock bomb, and I programmed West Side Radio for 2 hours. So I had a lot of programming things that I would do on my own. That's why I had a sound. That's why I can't just go and get a job. I can just go get a job tomorrow if I want to be on the radio, man. It's not a problem. I can go put a tape together and go send it to everybody. Somebody will give me a job. But I don't want to do that. That's not what I do. I have to have freedom.
Yeah, no.
Freedom is not worth it to me. So
it makes a huge, because I remember because the first hour from 6 to 7 was programmed, but basically from 7 to 10, that was you.
Yeah. And that happened because of Michelle S.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you remember Michelle, but she was the one that got me on to 92.3 The Beat. Mm-hmm. She was responsible for making that happen. Mm-hmm. And so they already had the 9 o'clock bomb before I got there. And so, but they would program it. And so I didn't like it. I was like, this is cool, man, but it's ain't really what we need. You need to let me touch this a little bit.
Right. So
they didn't want to though. They were like, because they, you can't just hand over programming to somebody. That's a serious situation in radio. Mm-hmm. They just don't do that.
Right. Real talk.
They just don't. They want everything. They want to know where everything's placed and whatever. So I told him, or she said, I'll let you program it for a week. I was like, okay. And then I just went for broke. And then from there, they never looked back. They were like, okay, that's you programming.
Yeah.
So, like I said, but see, programming also has its own thing. You can't just have some freedom and then just go berserk and do
right.
If you don't, you have to keep it in a certain space, and you got to know where you're at, because if not, you can lose people and lose ratings, and that can damage you. You know what I mean? So
exactly,
because the 9 o'clock bomb was always my top rated hour, and West Side Radio was also. So the things that I was programming was actually the top rated stuff. So I was happy about that. You know what I mean? But that's why I was able to be successful.
And it goes back to Tony G helping you way back then.
Absolutely. That's what I said. Go back to that. Mm-hmm. That's what it's about. What he taught me in the beginning.
Right.
Applied at that. And
right.
He was right.
And just to kind of skip around a little bit too, tell me a little bit about your relationship with Nate Dogg, because I just remember you had your relationship. We used to
smoke a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, we had a smoking relationship, and then we had a music relationship because he used to always be at Fred Rex's house too. So, but I always had bomb weed. So every time I see Nate, I always gave him bomb weed. Mm-hmm. He used to be like, "Damn, man, you be," There was a time where Nate was upset with me because I had a relationship with Suge Knight. And so he was, how can I say, we had a little, I don't know if I would say, he never verbally expressed it to me, but I felt it. He expressed a few things to me one day, but I had to explain to him that, the West Side Radio, I can't be picking sides. You have to understand that. You guys get into beefs with each other, and then you want me to adapt to your beefs. West Side Radio, we can't do beefs. He didn't like that I had Death Row night one night. And that was an interesting night too. But
what was interesting about that night?
Well, I had Hutch from Above the Law was working with Death Row at the time. And so they had this album called, I don't remember what album, it might be Too Gangster for Radio or something. I was on a picture of one of those covers, the Two Gangster for Radio. But in that they were dissing Snoop. I didn't know this when I'm doing this because I don't know what's going to be in the record when I open it. You understand what I'm saying? So I was caught by surprise too. So now it puts me in a position. Damn, I'm friends with Snoop Dogg, and now I'm on this guy's record cover. And Suge's the one that asked me to be on there. He called me from jail.
Oh shit.
Yeah, because I have a relationship with him too, you know, and he's cool with me, and I've been always cool with Suge Knight. And so I can't say, oh man, I hate Suge Knight. Because I can't. I have to make something up to tell you why I hate him, because he's never done nothing to me.
Right.
To ever, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But show me love. You know what I mean? I did a remix for Little Ghetto Boy for the Death Row's Greatest Hits. He paid me and Tony G $15,000 for that remix.
Oh shit.
The most I ever made on a remix. You know what I mean? So like I said, I had a relationship with the guy. You know? He was cool with me. You know what I mean? And so that put me in a little situation with Snoop and Nate, and but you know, it worked out eventually. You know what I mean? But that's why West Side Radio sometimes is tough, because sometimes I always try to tell everybody we're gonna keep it in the middle, because I can't just be on one side, and it's gonna kill this whole thing.
Right.
I'm just not gonna play the diss records, but we gotta play everybody, bro.
Yeah, and everybody kind of knows that already too. And correct me if I was wrong too, because I remember being at K-Day when Nate passed. Were they raising money to have the funeral? Well, do you remember that at all or no?
I don't remember that. No.
Okay.
Yeah. I had the last interview with Nate I did at 93.5 K-Day.
Okay, that's probably what I'm thinking.
I did have that. So that was really cool. But that's another night Fred Red came through, because we were cool at that point.
Right.
We had our moments, but then that kind of went away too. You know, we started smoking again, and just like we moved on from it. But I learned a lot from it, because I just know these things were getting very intense with these guys. And
yeah, did that ever worry you or concern you, being in the middle of all this shit?
Yeah, man. It was always some shit. Because there was one time I almost got caught up. I mean, there was a lot of street shit. I dealt with a lot of street shit that people didn't know about. Like, there was that one time I almost got into it, or I almost got fucked up by the East Coast Crips.
No shit.
Yeah, with Spider Lokes people.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And it was kind of fucked up how it happened too, man. It was crazy. It worked out, but it was like one of those moments where it was like some shit got real dangerous. Very, very dangerous. Probably one of the most dangerous situations I had been in because of the music. So I was coming out of K-Day at the time, and there was a guy named Cartoon from the IE. He was a rapper. Real nice guy. I don't know how we got on the phone about something, but I think he was doing something on my album at the time. I don't remember what it was, but he's like, yo, I'm at Spider Lokes video shoot in South Central. And I was on the way back to Lynwood, so I used to cut through South Central because I didn't take the freeway, because it used to be 6 o'clock when I was getting off.
Right.
Traffic, so I was already kind of cutting through Van Ness and whatever.
Yeah.
So, and I fuck with Spider Loke. That's my guy. You know? This whole time, I didn't know. I thought Spider Loke was from Compton. Don't ask me why. I don't know if I met him in Compton or what, but in my head, I never asked Spider Loke what hood he was from. I just assumed he was from Compton for some reason. Long story short, but he smokes too, like me, right? So we're cool. And so I'm like, oh shit, Spider Loke is there. Yeah, he's doing his video, man. I'm like, damn, I'll go by there and fuck with him. You know, cool, come through. So cool. I'm in the hood of South Central. I'm in the East Coast neighborhood. And so he has this video shoot at this house, and it's nothing but Crips in there. I mean, I'm telling you nothing but Crips, all blue. So I walk through this little small house, you know, in the hood how they are. I walk through this living room with all Crips. I walk through this kitchen with all Crips, and I go to the backyard, and there's more Crips. Right now, the video is called Beautiful.
Yeah.
You ever see me? I'm in the video. That's the backyard I'm talking about, because he shot it in that backyard. Other places too, but you see the scene in the backyard. So I get out there, and I'm dressed up because I was on the way to do some shit with my girl. So I'm wearing a blazer. If you see me in the video, I'm all like G'd up, because I was going to go see her later to get some dinner, whatever we were going to do. And so when I get out there, I just barely step in the backyard. I'm not even in the backyard for like 30 seconds. And one of his homies just pushes up on me. Oh, what's up, cuz? something, you know, fuck you, Julio G. And I'm like, oh shit. Now the homie that invited me, Cartoon, this ain't his hood either. So he kind of jumps in like, hey, hold up, homie. And so now I'm like, hey man, what's up? Like, what you tripping over, dog?
Right.
Now I'm like, oh shit. I'm in a room, I'm in a backyard full of Crips.
Yeah.
And so Spider Loc jumps in, dog. And he's like, hold up, cuz, hold up. And now homeboy's telling me something about a game interview that I had. I said something about G Unit. But remember how Spider Loc and them was claiming G Unit too?
Right.
They were taking it like, you know, they're part of it. So I'm talking about them too, which I wasn't, you know, because I'm speaking on the New York G Unit. I'm not even tripping on these guys like that.
Right.
But they took it that way. And so, yeah, that got really dangerous. I thought it was going to be an issue for real. I mean, I was like, oh shit, they got me. Now, if Spider wouldn't have got me out of that, they would have fucked me up.
Yeah.
Sure. But he ended up calming these motherfuckers down. Now, I didn't leave.
Oh, you couldn't have leave at that point. You had to kick it.
I had to because I didn't want them to be like, oh, he ran out of here scared like a motherfucker.
Right.
Now, the crazy part was that the homie that invites me, I now pull over to the driveway. And now the homie that invites me is telling me in my ear, hey, homie, I didn't set you up, man. I swear to God, homie, my friend Cartoon, he felt really bad because he's the one that invited me. Now, I'm gonna tell you the whole story. It's kind of some gangster shit, but
it's already.
There was some other dudes at the time. The East Coast used to fuck with the Grape Streets. But they don't at this point, I don't think anymore, over something that happened. But at the time they did. And so I know some dudes from Grape. And so some dudes from Grape was there, and then they pulled up on me and they had straps. And they were like, hey, Julio G, I'm woo from Grape. This is my boy from Grape. We got your back, cuz. Don't even trip, cuz. You good, cuz. And I'm like, oh. So I'm like, oh shit, man. Like, at least these three dudes, at least these two dudes got straps. But I'm still, long story short, I end up being in the video, and those dudes that started the beef with me at first end up walking me to my car.
Oh shit.
Yeah, they end up walking me to my car and be like, man, Julio G, we listen to you all the time, cuz, man. We was mad and shit, man. It's like, oh dog, come on, man. I wasn't talking about you motherfuckers, man. So they kind of felt bad about it. You know, it worked out, but at the moment, it was not good, bro.
Yeah, because the thing is, in those type of situations, anything can go left at any word, any mannerism, anything.
I had nowhere to run to. That was stuck in my
car, man.
And so, but this is the crazy story. I love the record, listening to it right there in the video, that the next day I broke that record and I was banging the fuck out of it. So that's what's crazy about that. That whole situation actually worked out for Spider Loc and his family.
Right.
Because Beautiful World, that's where it came from. It came from 93.5 K Day because I used to play it like every fucking day. You know,
it's a hot record.
It got so many requests, dog. It was crazy. It was just nonstop requests for that record.
That record was hot, and you know, even the way it starts off, it's a beautiful day, and it just goes. It's a dope record. It's a dope record. Like, and after that day, did you say, hey, let me move differently, because it's almost like
I didn't know where it was gonna come from, because they'd be in different situations, because it just be like that. So I'm West Side Radio. Everybody wants to holler at me, man. So
right, but at the same time, is it like, okay, let me not, because
I used to just move around because I'm just used to moving around anyway. I've always been moving through South Central. I've always been going through Compton. I don't fuck with Long Beach that heavy, but I fuck with Long Beach from time to time. But I've been in Compton a lot. I've been in South Central a lot. I've been in, you know, East LA, boy. I mean, I've been in the hoods.
Right.
But I don't say it to be a tough guy or nothing. I'm just saying it in the sense of
it's home.
It's kind of home. It's not natural to me, dude. I'm from Lynwood. You know what I mean?
Exactly. No, I totally get it. Like, you're not gonna drive down the 405 off the 105 to not, like, you're not gonna make adjustments for that. But at the same time, as a public figure, do you say to yourself, like, okay, if somebody's having a situation, I just can't fuck with that no more. You know what I mean? Like,
I had to, like, I just got to think it out. You know what I mean? Like, I had to learn to think things out. But I fuck with so many different people that they're just hood.
Yeah,
I can't do nothing about that. I can't just be like, oh, I can't fuck with homeboy because he's hood.
Right.
I used to always just tell them, hey, homie, is this your neighborhood? Like, you good here? Like, I'll fuck with you if you know what's up. And usually they're like, oh no, this my shit. Don't even trip. These my people, homie. Ain't nobody shit. And 99.9% of the time, they were right. They was their spot, and I had number love there. And man, I used to go into the projects fucking with the grape streets and smoke weed with them and shit. I used to leave a Mercedes Benz sitting in the front with the windows rolled down. They'd be like, cuz, ain't nobody gonna touch your car, cuz.
Right.
Like, it was like love, dog. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Nickerson Gardens. I've been in the Nickerson Gardens back with OFTB in their days with J Rock and all them dudes too. And just like, I got love, not to be tough though, but just saying in the sense of,
yeah, no, you are LA. You know,
they fuck with me. I know people and they're good with me. You know what I mean? So,
and that's before the radio, which I think that's the thing that makes it so that people don't understand, because it's just like when you get a lot of these jocks or these corporate cats, and then even now with the internet, a lot of people talk tough with it, but they don't understand, like, you got to move different in LA. And a lot of times people that are from LA, they have a history, and so you just can't be out here moving and talking a certain way unless you got that history, and people know who's who when you move around out here.
Yeah, for sure, man. For sure. I've been blessed because a lot of people have always came to me and said, if you ever have an issue, you can call us. But I always tell people that tell me that, I hope I never do. You know what I mean?
Right.
I do not want to make that call. I don't.
Right.
Thank you, though. I appreciate it. Thank you. Just in case.
Just like Johnny, you said, just in case.
Whatever happens in the street and I have to call somebody, I'm lucky that I do have some people that I can call. So I've been very blessed with that. You know what I mean? So I don't want to get the names and all that, but if I've always been blessed with that. So that's why. But I really, honestly, like I said, it's been just a moment here, a moment there. The rest of the time, it's always been love, dog.
It's yeah, because you do. There's certain people like that's.
It's the weed, bro.
It's the weed, but there's certain people that's love. Like you, obviously, like Snoop, it's all love. Big Boy, it's all love. You know what I'm saying? There's certain people that just have that energy. They got that spirit. Like, what was the relationship and Game, Nipsey, Kendrick?
So I'll go back to all of them. So, like the Game, I was doing a mixtape series for West Side Radio when I was off the radio. And in one of those mixtapes, I put one of his songs on at the time. So I was pretty early with the Game. I knew that he had it from some early stuff that I heard of his. And I forgot what song it was, but it was at the end of one of my I think volume 4. And I just liked him the way his whole get down. He was just dope to me. And when he first came out, I did an interview at his house on his block on Cedar. Yeah, it was for Napster.
Oh wow, take this back.
I hope that one day somebody digs that up. I don't know where that's at, but I did that for Napster. So I had a relationship with him very early, and I've always supported him. I've always been a big supporter of him. I actually did a skit for his 3rd album, I think, a song where I reenacted the night Eazy-E died on the radio. I forgot the name of the song, but somebody just played it for me the other day, and I forgot about it. I was like, oh damn, I forgot I did that with Game. You know what I mean? So yeah, I have a great relationship with Game. He's a really good artist. Nipsey, I was early to play him too, and I actually hosted his record release party, his early record release party in 2000. I want to say 2007. Right next door to Capitol Records. It was a little club right there. So I hosted that. Yeah. But I knew him, his relationship, I knew him through Big U.
Okay, copy that.
I had a relationship with Big U through Corrupt and through his little brother Draws. Passed away. Yeah. I did a tribute for Draws on the radio because I knew him. He was friends because I used to hang out with Corrupt and Fred Rec and all them at his house.
Right.
I smoked weed with him and everything, And so he was killed at Echo Sound in a recording studio. Yeah, and I had just hung out with him the day before at Soul Train with Corrupt. Okay, like I said, once again, back to the weed.
Right.
I was in the bar.
Right.
So the next day, I wasn't at that studio session, thank God, but he got killed by some whatever went down. And so I just liked the guy so much, man. I'm like, he didn't even have no music or nothing. I just did a tribute playing corrupt songs. Yeah, on the radio on the 9 o'clock bomb. And Big U called me from jail. And he was like, you know, he just had nothing but love and respect and just thank you for what you've done for my brother and whatever you need from 60s. You know what I mean?
Right.
Whatever you need. So that's why I got a good relationship with him too. But that's how I met Nipsey, was through Big U. And then Kendrick I met through J Rock because I was the first one to play J Rock. I broke J Rock at 93.5 K Day.
That's right.
TDE came through. I did some consulting for them too. And it's a funny story because just the other day, I don't know if you know the guy Mixed by Ali. He mixes all their records. He's their engineer, right?
Okay.
You know, so on the records you always say Mixed by Ali.
Got you.
But I love their record so much. But J Rock, somebody sent me his song "Lift Me Up" on an email. I just don't remember who it was, but somebody sent it to me, and I remember hearing it, and because he sent me a little story that he's from Nickerson Gardens and da da da. And at the time I was trying to get Watts on the map because I felt that I had done a lot for South Central and Long Beach, and I was like, man, we got to get Watts cracking, man. Watts ain't had a light, you know what I mean?
Right, since Tyrese.
And Cam, you know what I mean?
Yeah, Cam, yeah.
So we don't really have a lot. So that's where I started to work with this guy from Grape Street named Dro. And I did a mixtape with Dro. And then I started to play J-Rock. So I had the Grape Streets from Jordan Downs with Dro. And then I was playing J-Rock now from Nickerson Gardens. And then I was looking for somebody from Imperial Courts. And I was playing Glasses Malone.
Okay.
I started Glasses Malone too. You know what I mean? So that's kind of was my Watts thing that I was trying to do on the radio. Now, J-Rock, I got that record and I did a clean version of it. I made my own clean version of it. And the next day I was doing West Side Radio on Sunday nights. And I remember playing it, honestly, probably like 10, 15 times in a row. And I remember saying, I'm gonna shut the phones down. I only want people from the Nickerson Garden projects to call. So I'm gonna hang up these phone lines, only Nickerson Garden projects.
That's crazy.
And it's all it was. And you could hear it in the background as I was playing it again, you could hear it. And they're just all excited out there, man. Like, oh man, it's popping Julio G.
Right.
J-Rock has said the story somewhere too, how heavy it was for him and his people. Because imagine, it's Sunday and you just got your record on the radio like 15 times.
Yeah.
Bro.
That's a half an hour.
Thank you. That's what I was going to say. It was about 20-something minutes, 25 minutes, dog. And it was back and played again. And I didn't do it because the record was some incredible record. It was good. But it wasn't that it was such an incredible record. I just wanted to make the statement. Like Watts, Nickerson Gardens, Watts. You know what I mean? I wanted the people to hear it and feel it. And so when I met J-Rock personally, he was with K-Dot, Kendrick Lamar. And when I first met J-Rock, he told me that Kendrick Lamar was the truth. He told me himself. He goes, I'm dope. But my homie right here, he the shit, man. And that's why I always respected J-Rock, because he didn't, another Ice-T moment. He didn't have to do that, dog. Rappers don't do that. Rappers don't put on the homie.
Right.
Rappers are going to talk about them.
Right, exactly.
That's what they do. And that should, because that's what that's what you do. Instead, he gave me, and I was like, oh shit, okay. So I would shout K-Dot out before he even had a record out.
Wow.
I would give him just shout outs. Shout out to K-Dot. When I would play J-Rock or something like that. What's up, little K-Dot? Don't do it to him, K-Dot.
Right.
I think he recorded somewhere where I said that and put it on one of his mixtapes. I'm not sure. Kid told me that. But so that's how I met them. And then they asked me to consult for them. But I was telling you about Mixed by Ali. I went to Warner Brothers because Warner Brothers was fucking with J-Rock. And so the J-Rock played me some songs. And I didn't really know them that good. I didn't know Top Dog. I mean, I just met them, you know what I mean? But they were hella cool.
Right.
And so I wanted to help them, you know what I mean? Whatever I could do. I just like them, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's something about them I like. And so I tell them, hey man, you got some cool stuff here, dude, but you need somebody to mix these records right. The mixes are just not right. I think you got something, but you have to find the mix. That's why they listened to me what I told them early on, and they found this guy mixed by Ali. They found Ali.
Got
He
it.
has an incredible fucking sound, and the way he engineers their sound, it is their unique sound.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
listen to any TDE records, they have a certain sonic to it. You can play them all together, and they're all going to sound like one sonic.
Right.
Different a little bit in places, but it marries together. That's what I was trying to explain to them just with the early J Rock stuff. So they actually did that, and that's why I think that's part of just me consulting for them at the time.
Yeah, and that's why they, no pun intended, that's why they winning. Win, 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 win. You know.
Yeah. So they were really good guys, man. I played them a lot. I gave them a lot of play.
And for you, I mean, you've done so much for the coast, LA. Like, what's your proudest moment at being Julio G out here to where you're like, okay, I did that. Like your pop your collar moment.
I think I'm always gonna say probably my biggest thing is Grand Theft Auto.
Okay.
Yeah, because I did Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. I'm the main. I'm the main. I'm the main radio station, Radio Los Santos.
Yeah. Talk your shit.
And I got to play myself in the game, which is they don't let you do that. They always have you use a different name. They just use your voice. But DJ Pooh, he's the one that went to them and told them it has to be his name.
Right.
The game is based on LA, and it has to be authentic to him. So when he's on the radio, they have to hear him say Julio G. I'm sorry. So there's no ifs, and they kind of pushed back a little bit, but it got through. So I was very lucky because that helped me out a lot in the sense of like when you do listen to the game, and that's the main station where everybody's doing their thing at, it pops, you hear me. It's Julio G. So that's one of my biggest moments because it's came back to me so much now in the later years. People are like, oh man, I love that game. That's my game. Oh, you're Radio Los Santos. They all be knowing that thing. It's been out there so long, and it's one of the biggest ones of their series.
Which is the biggest. And it's a global brand, and yeah, that's so sick. And 50's about to do the scripted show for it.
Yeah.
And that would be dope if you were on that. You know what I mean?
We'll see what happens.
It sounds like you got something in the works already.
You never know. You never know what happens. Yeah. So that's one of my big moments. I mean, I have a lot of them, you know what I mean? But going number one on the radio was a big deal, and then seeing the billboard of you was a big deal for my mom to see that. That was a real big deal. And like I said, Grand Theft Auto stands out always as one of the big things that I've done.
It's been huge, and just like for you, in terms of just like when you talk about the East Coast and the West Coast in terms of personalities, like you look at the Funk Flex and the Clues and all those people on the East Coast. Why don't you think that same love is given out here in LA for like you on the West Coast?
I don't know, man. It's just one of those things that I just it's funny you say that because I was looking at the internet today. I was looking at Instagram today, and I seen 93.5 K-Day. They put like a 40-year of hip hop, and then I seen like our original K-Day logo, and I thought to myself, I said, "Damn, that's crazy, man! Like they do all that and claim all that, and they haven't they don't acknowledge you. They don't acknowledge your partners. They don't acknowledge the people that made K-Day, the original 1580, and started this whole thing. There is no acknowledgement. There's nothing like, hey, we should recognize these guys, man. They did a lot of impact, not just for music, but just DJing, just the impact of scratching and our style that we did from the 80s alone impacted the world. You know what I mean? We don't scratch like New York DJs. We don't cut like New York DJs. We have our own shit. And it's what people do to this day. You know what I mean? So it's sad in LA. That's one thing that's bothered me about LA. They don't it's a lot of haters out here to me. It's just they're too big to say, hey man. You know what's fucked up? When I used to tour with Cypress Hill, it used to bother me that I used to go to New York every year because we would play 2-3 times a year in New York, but every Halloween they have a haunted hill. They've been doing it for like 20 something years straight. So every year we would play New York in October for Halloween, right? And so I used to trip. I used to go to New York And every year was different people backstage, always different New York people, because they all be vibing with each other. That's how New York is. So, you know, this year Ghostface, Raekwon show up, this, you know, you just never know.
Right.
Just some New York motherfuckers. But every time I was there, man, like when people would introduce me, man, they would introduce me like, oh man, this dude right here for L, it's like the Funk Mental Flex of LA, man. And oh shit, this right, this, and I used to be like, damn, why do they give me so much more love here than LA? Like they don't even talk that much like that about me in LA and shit. Like,
Right.
these guys were impacted more just from hearing it. Like, this a bad motherfucker.
Yeah.
Right. So I just never understand about LA. It's just I don't know what to make of it, man. We've never been acknowledged. You know, even right now, West Coast, West Side this, West Side that, West Coast, West. You don't hear them say, oh, hey, and by the way, you know the guy that used to play West Coast in the 90s, why all this shit is classic, is this one dude.
Right.
They like, it's like, oh shit, we got to do a lot of different ones because there's so many of y'all, right? It ain't that. It's like, oh, and the one dude that brought you all that shit, like that today you consider them all classics. It's all classics today. Oh yeah, shit, that's classic, man. Yeah, I broke that. You didn't want to play that when that was out. You hated Above the Law. You didn't like MC8. You didn't like Too Short. Thought he couldn't rap for shit. You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. It's like, I made that shit. Now today they're like, oh, Too Short legend, man. And well, Too Short didn't get no love in LA till I played his music. E40 didn't get no love in LA till I played it. I broke Sprinkle Me. I broke Captain Save a Ho. I broke Tell Him When to Go. I broke a gang, the Click Hurricane. All came from me, dog. Straight up. Like Sugar T, Be Legit. All that came from me. Man, I can go on and on and on with the Bay. Too Short. Paris came from me. Man, a gang of motherfuckers from the Bay. Who Riders? Shot Call Them Big Baller. That came from me, dog. You know what I mean? I broke them records. So it's like I look back now and I think like when people say, oh, that shit's all the classics and the classics. Yeah, I'm a classic, but you know, y'all don't mention me for shit. You know, but in New York, they still salute Red Alert to this day. I just seen them the other day, came on stage, and you should have seen all them rappers. They was like, I'm like, damn, that's crazy, man. They appreciate their culture over there.
Right.
In LA, they almost want you to go away.
Yeah.
We want to bite all your shit though. I'm gonna do a little bit because I see everybody nibbling my shit. And it's like, oh, now I'm gonna use this piece, you know, everybody does little pieces. But nobody want to go back and say, hey, what about these guys, bro? You know? And so, yeah, that's always been a thing that bothers me about LA. And I don't really care anymore because I've kind of got past that age. I'm going to be 55 this year. So
congratulations, family.
But it's fucked up because, like I say, a lot of us are getting older and we're going to be gone one day. And it's just going to be like, I don't want to hear it like when you're gone. Oh, hey, by the way, these are the legends, bro. And, you know, that's fucked up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We for your West Coast. We put it down for the West. For myself, not only in the 80s that I put it down in the West Coast for you, I put it down in the 90s for you and busted out your whole West Side radio and your whole West Coast movement and what it was to be West Coast and throwing your dubs in the air and blah, 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 blah. And in the 2000s, 93.5 K-Day, I brought you that. I started that station, you know? So that's what I say. It's like a lot of people, you know, I really don't know what the acknowledgement or whatever it is, but I'll see them do it for the East Coast always or whatever over there, but West Coast, they just don't do that.
And that's the thing. And that's why, you know, it was so important for me to show you your flowers, because to me, it makes sense, you know, like, and it's a different impact when you see it, you know what I mean? Like, these are not just stories. Like I saw you in action. You came to, you know, and not only just like, cause you like my nigga, like for real. Cause even when I wasn't even on the air, I was doing street team going to Santa Monica College, and I didn't even know you. This is probably like one of our first or longest conversations. And I'd be like, yo, Julio, I'll just walk in there. You know, do you mind coming to Santa Monica College? You know, and you said, cool, it's all good. And so just on that level, I was like, okay, this is a real ass dude. And then what you did for everybody. So not just what you did in the industry, just who you are as a person. And it's incredible, man. It's just like, you're an amazing person, and what you've given to the culture of LA and hip hop, and man, you literally changed the course of history of hip hop.
Yeah, thank you. No, I appreciate that, man. That's what I try to do from the beginning. That was always about, like I said, it's about challenging to be better, and just that was our thing. I come from the battle world, so everything is about battling and being the best. I'll tell you a quick story about Eazy-E. Just even speaking on that. When I had that meeting at 92.3 The Beat to get the Ruthless Radio show, and they asked us for the demo, when we went outside, Eazy-E told me, we're gonna drive over to Power 106. And we're like, okay. So we jump in the car with him. We go over to Power 106. Somehow he gets in the building and he ends up talking to the guy, the main guy from Power 106. We all sit in a room again in his
Right,
office.
right.
And I forgot the gentleman's name, but he's old school Power 106. And he says the same thing. Oh, make me a demo. And now when I'm in this meeting with him, I'm thinking like, why are we here? Now it's cool that we're here because Power 106 was the shit. You understand what I'm saying? The Baker Boy, they was popping.
Right.
92.3 The Beat, they wouldn't really know. And I didn't even know what the fuck that was when I went over there.
Right.
I didn't know what it was. I honestly did not listen to 92.3 The Beat when I went to 92.3 The Beat. I may have heard it one time because I heard the Poetess on there on the Saturday because I knew her. Because me and Tony knew her. And we had to go through the dial and go, oh shit, that Poetess.
Okay.
And we left it on there for like 30 minutes. And then we got out the car. And that's the only time I had listened to 92.3 The Beat. Only because I heard. And so I didn't know why we were even there, like I said, but I was cool to be there because I was like, oh shit, it's Power 106. So when we went downstairs, I told Eazy-E, oh man, this shit, we want to, this is Power 106. We good. I'm gonna make a demo for them. We do this shit. And he goes, oh no, we ain't gonna fuck with them. I'm like, what? What do you mean? He's like, no, I just came over so they won't say I didn't tolerate. We're gonna fuck with them over there. I'm like, easy. They're number one, man. Man, fuck them people. Nobody knows who the fuck they are, man. We need to fuck with this shit. He was like, look, Julio G, let me explain something to you, man. You can't make them more number one. But if you go over there and make them number one, you'll be the motherfucking man.
Wow.
And he was right, bro. And I remember the feeling I got. I said to myself, that's what made me honestly like battle with Power 106 was because of Eazy telling me that specific thing. That's when I said, oh, you know what? Like it challenged me. It's like, oh yeah, you know what? Fuck these dudes. We're gonna go in there and kill shit. And that just had me in a whole, it's on, dog.
Damn.
And that was just a little story I wanted to tell you about Eazy-E. I just thought that was interesting. I don't know why it popped in my head, but
no, that's dope.
That was some game that he gave me at that time. And he was right.
He was right. It literally changed everything. You know what I mean? You being at the station really it gave the beat credibility.
It did. That's what it needed. It needed some credibility and it needed some LA, some real LA. Like I think I just went into the hood. I think Theo got him from a certain level, but I came in, I brought it to the hood. Like I brought the hood out of it. So that it was more, it connected more, you know what I mean?
And the timing was perfect.
Yeah. And then Theo came up with No Color Lines. So that was genius. And that was a time at that time that helped also. And that was it was different than Power 106. You know what I'm saying?
A lot different. And not to kind of go, what was your relationship with Theo?
We had a cool relationship, it was cool. I just I did my thing and he did his thing, you know what I mean? But we hang out from time to time.
Right.
But he was just doing, he had his own thing going on, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
When I came in, what's up there? All right, cool. Let's make it happen. I'm next.
Yeah, exactly. Like
and we turned it into the nighttime, you know what I'm saying?
Right. It was a different vibe, it was a different energy.
Yes. And it changed the vibe. Yeah.
Yeah, you definitely, it was, and that was what made it dope, was it was just like the vibe changed. And now Julio G, like for you, you've already, you've accomplished so much. Like what excites you now, because you've done so much and you've hit a lot of marks. Like what exciting?
To be honest with you, it's things that have nothing to do with music. My grandkids inspire me a lot. They bring a good feeling to me. You know what I mean? I'm a grandfather now, so it kind of changes. You know what I mean? Things that I was more serious about before, they're not a big deal to me today. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. My thing is more my family now, my daughter, my grandkids, and seeing them grow up. I work in the cannabis business. So that kind of has taken me away a little bit from the music business.
Right.
It's, it's busy. You know, it's a busy kind of situation.
And congratulations, you got the spot on Sunset.
Yeah, that came out. Yeah, that's the Hollywood LA Kush. That's popping. And then the East LA Kush popping too. So, you know, it's been a nice experience. You know what I mean? So I've been caught up a little bit in that. But I think this year I'm gonna come back and do some things. I do Dr. Green Thumb B-Real's podcast on Tuesdays. I hop in with him and we sit there and have some fun and talk some hip hop and things like that. But I got some things maybe coming later this year. You know, I'll tell you about it later.
Yeah, man. I mean, literally, I could probably go another 2 hours with you, bro, because it's just like you have like we've been talking for such a long time, and I feel like I've only scratched the surface. I had like a page full of notes, and it's just like, you know, so many things that I want to ask you about too. You know what I mean? How'd you meet Melody, your boy Chris? Like, it's just so many different things. It's just like
Melody, real quick. I met Melody through the Baker Boys.
Okay.
Yeah, he was in their record pool, and I went. This is right after, I want to say right after Eazy-E died. Not that long after, a couple months maybe. And I went to the record pool because I've known the Baker Boys since they were young, you know what I mean? And their older brother, rest in peace, Frank B. I knew him since those days, right? He's their older brother. So he had the record pool, Ghetto Baby. And so I went there, and Melody, he got on the turntables and he DJed for like, honestly, like not even 5 minutes. And I just knew he was dope. I just knew it. I was like, damn, this guy's really good. Like, and in my head, I was like, if I ever would do a radio show like that, I would get this guy. Like I would holler at it. You know, I don't know what made me think that, but I thought that. And then some months later, when they offered me the thing, I called him. I go, hey man, you know, what do you do for a living? He goes, I work at a bank. Okay, you want to work at a bank, or you want to do something you love? And he's like, I want to do something I love. Okay, well, you want to DJ. You want to DJ on the radio, and I'm gonna get you a check. I'm gonna get you hooked up. And he was going to college at the time, so he was balancing both things, you know what I mean? But he was very committed. And he was, you know, he was an incredible DJ. He changed DJing on the radio like a motherfucker.
Shit.
It was hard to keep up with that dude. He was too incredible, like at what he did. You know what I mean? So my ear, I just always had a good ear for people and just for music, and then for DJs too, because honestly, that's where the Beat Junkies came from, because they got all that promotion from me, because every day I would say the Beat Junkies names. So imagine like, you know, when you have to pay for that. You have to pay. You have to pay for those spots when you say somebody's name like that, because you're tagging them. So every time he would come on, it's a DJ Melody, world famous Beat Junkies. It's almost like giving you a free. It's a free plug. It's free.
Yeah, it's branding at its
branding. Best. So I mean, they got branded. They got branded through 92.3 The Beat, and DJ Melody. You know what I'm saying? So, but that's a good thing, because I wanted to do that, because they're the next generation of us. It's the 1588 Mix Masters. So of course I have to support the next kids, you know what I mean? And that's who they were. And they're incredible, you know what I mean? So you see who they are today, you know what I mean? So that was the early Beat Junkies. That's how they got on the radio. And then I had Icy Ice play on Fridays. That's how I started him, because I wanted to get the Filipinos and the Asians to come to 92.3 The Beat. And that was my way of like showing them love, because Icy Ice was really known in that community.
Right.
I used to go to his dances. I'm like, damn, this guy's like the man. Like, and everybody there, that all the Filipinos, they loved hip hop. So we got to involve them too. I got to put their guy on, you know what I mean? So that's kind of how that all came about, and they all started getting on the radio.
Damn, yeah, that's crazy. Like, I mean, you really were the architect for the beat being the beat.
Yeah, I brought a lot of people in there.
Yeah, it was like you're the engine, you know. It was
a lot of my interns went on to do radio. Eric Kubici was an intern. He went on to do radio, and Tawala, he went on to do radio. Chris Lopes is at Apple. He's doing his thing over there. And then who else did I have? I had a few other people, but they went on and did things too.
Monet said she was working with you doing
she worked with me at one time for that Westside Radio concert. So yeah, I've always been lucky to have some good people around, you know what I mean? Yeah. But it's about finding those people, you know what I mean? You got to find good people and see what they got to, what are they good at? You know, and capitalize on that and magnify that. It's always about finding what people are good at.
Right.
And so I've always had a kind of an ear for that, and just seeing things in certain people, you know what I mean?
Yeah, man. Your tree, you know what I mean? Like your tree and your branches are are ridiculous, man. That's why I had to, yeah, you need more than flowers. You got to give
Thank
me
you, bro.
a
I
treat.
appreciate it. Thank you,
Yeah,
man.
man.
Thank you,
Mr.
man.
Julio G. I could ask you about everything else. I want to ask you about Ice Cube, but we'll save it for next time.
For another time.
Yeah, man. Thank you, Julio G. Legendary, man.
Thank you, B-Woods. I appreciate you too, man.
Nobody says it, man. You are the legend and the roots of LA, making this shit pop off, man. The one, the only Mr. Julio G.
Yes, sir. All right, man. Thank you, everybody. I love y'all, man. Thank you for the love. I appreciate it all, man.
Thank you, Julio.
Thank you, B-Woods. Thank you very much, man. I appreciate you,
Absolutely, family.